Later tonight on the internet, people take action figures out of boxes and share them, and display them, and analyse them. First, Whose Views is here with Earthshock stuff.
Leader, they are Doctor Who fans. This is excellent. We are watching Whose Views. We will observe, and then eradicate them.
Our celebration of 60 years of the Cybermen in 2026 take us now to the most requested Whose Views Reviews story to date. It's Earthshock. Yay! Hello, everybody. How you doing? Welcome back to Whose Views. And yes, this is our Earthshock review. This is the one that you people have been requesting for us on the channel. Well, ever since we started up in 2023. Can you imagine that, guys?
That's because it's great.
Yeah.
Why has it taken so long?
Because I knew the Cybermen's 60th anniversary was coming up this year, so I thought we'd save it for then.
Why you know too much?
It's lots of you in the chat with us. We'll come to you in a second. But as you can see, I'm with George. I am with Digby, who's calling himself Cyberman 1, Adric 0. We're with Paul, we're with Phil, and we're with Lex. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining me. What is another beautifully hot day?
Gorgeous. Excellent.
Excellent. Do you think Bill and Ted were cybernized? That's what happened on this episode.
Oh, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so, everybody. Yeah, absolutely. Let's get before we start everything. I just want, as ever, just to get into the chat, and I want to start with who I know he's in the chat. So I want to say thank you to Stephen Braddock for another piece of artwork for us as part of our programs here. Have a look at this, guys.
Oh, that's good.
Oh, lovely. Very
Lovely.
nice.
The famous scene, or one of the famous scenes from The Freighter. Yes, so that's all coming up for you in the show. Steve, again, thank you so much for that. I love it. I absolutely love it. Let's get into the chat and say hello to you all. Oh, look, there is Stephen there. Stephen, again, thank you very much for that. Synth John is saying, oh, lovely artwork. There you have it. Matt, how are you doing today, Matt and Spiel? Nice to see you. Boom shakalak. It's Earthshock. I like that word. Boom.
I thought it was Khalid again. Sorry.
Hello, panel. I've been looking forward to this. As FJ Canal. Thank you, mate. Good to see you. And Funky says the Radio Times shook when JNT refused the cover. I'm sure we'll come into that. St. John saying to us that this is his favourite story for the Cybermen. And Philip Shaw is saying, good evening, esteemed team. Excellent to see you. Ooh, get in for you lot. Look at that.
Excellent.
Ooh, they're very esteemed. Well, they are on a Saturday night as well. Mark Greaves, gold. Always believe in gold. Gold, you're indestructible. There's a song in there somewhere, I think, everybody.
Yeah, can't take you by. No, yeah.
What's he paying you, St. John? It says, yay, Phil is back. What's that about?
Yes. And
I think the check's in the post now, I think. Yeah. So.
Georgia Donald, hello, lovely. Brilliant intro. Hello, panel and chat. Well, hello to you, darling. How are you? FJ Canal is also saying it's lovely theme music. It is, isn't it? From Problem Being, of course, who might be joining us later. I don't know. I don't think he'll be watching the football, quite frankly. And Darren Reed is saying to us, I heard the game was called off when a massive freighter crashed into the stadium. Really? Oh my God. Yeah, and then Pete Harrington say, and now a Cyberman's just come onto the pitch and the ref is carding him.
Does that mean England win by default? Does that happen? I don't know.
I don't know. You're using words I do not understand. Bill Lowry, it's
Me
good
neither.
to see you. Nice to see you. What does that default mean? Hello. And Stephen O'Neill quite rightly saying that this story had the working title Sentinel and the Enemy Within. It certainly did. So let's crack on then, everybody. Let's get into this because this is the one that you've been waiting for. And here it is at last because this is Earthshock, written by Eric Sayward. And of course, first broadcast on BBC One between the 8th and the 16th of March, 1982. It was, of course, part of season 19, which was Peter Davison's first series, as you will all know. Oh, yes, you will. I want to point out in this one as well that the music is, of course, by Malcolm Clark for the incidental music, and it became legendary. George won't believe me, but it became legendary for the cyber themes on this. It was directed by Peter Grimwade. The script editor was Eric Sayward, and of course, it was produced by John Nathan Turner. Part 1 got, in old money, 9.9 million viewers. Part 2 was 8.8 million viewers. Part 3 was 9.8 million viewers. And then part 4 got 9.6 million viewers.
Wow.
This 4-part story for Doctor Who was a massive success. Radio Times cover or not, boys and girls. There you go. So here we are then, 1982, everybody.
I remember it well.
I was 3
-5
years
at that
old.
point, Phil.
I was coming up to my first birthday when Earthshock came out.
I was 3 years old then.
And you were
I
both
was 16.
you were 16, were you?
Yes.
I was 12.
8.5.
There you go. And I remember liking this episode, thinking, "Oh, this is good." You know, with the caves and the how lovely it was. I even quite like the argument between the Doctor and Adric. I remember at 12. But the thing I really do remember about this Who viewers was literally falling off the sofa because of that. Now, it's one of these things, isn't it, guys? If you were not there at the time, it's never the same.
Yeah.
It's like when you go to see The Sixth Sense.
It was a lovely, well-kept secret, wasn't it? And I'm glad we didn't get Radio Times, or that'd be completely spoiled. But I remember, like you, JT, being absolutely amazed, but my God, the Cybermen, yeah, wonderful, you know. And it really it was such a shock, a real shock, no pun intended. It really was a great moment to be a Doctor Who fan, and I loved every minute of that. Yeah.
And it was 7 years that we last saw them in Tom Baker's era, wasn't it? So
Yeah,
that was good. That was good to have that break, wasn't it? So
And they come back looking great.
yeah.
Earthshock Cybermen look fabulous.
They do. I think to date, Phil, and I have to say this, to date, these are still my favorite looking Cybermen, probably because I was 12 at the time. But to me, they take an element of that whole invasion look, the revenge look, just move it into the 80s that little bit. This is the one that the original series went out on as well, this design. And also, and I don't know if you saw them in the exhibition, George, in Blackpool, but in the exhibition, they looked fabulous as well.
They're very sleek looking, aren't they? That's the thing about them. Yeah.
They're very thin. Those boys were thin for crying out loud.
Yeah.
What happened?
It could be an age thing because, you know, my Cybermen, and it is definitely an age thing, are the Revenge Cybermen. And to me, these don't measure up because they don't convey the physical power that particularly the Invasion and the Revenge Cybermen had, where you could really believe, you know, these were mighty men of steel who had the strength of 10 men. You just said, you know, they seem almost feeble by comparison, and you know their strength is very erratic throughout the story. There's one bit in, is it episode 3 or 4, where it takes 2 of them to push a cardboard box out of the way.
and then they can bust through steel cylinders quite easily, kind of thing,
Yes. And
having ripping off the polythene as well is quite a challenge, isn't
yes.
it?
And Tegan single-handedly can hold one of them back.
It wasn't trying. They still have.
He was trying to give her a chance, wasn't he? That was it. Yeah.
They're trying to harvest Tegan later. I think they try and harvest her, and they want to keep her as a specimen, so she's not too damaged.
Okay,
lovely.
They just didn't convey the feeling of power that their predecessors did to me.
Fair enough.
Can I jump in here for a minute? I'm going to say, I think that David Banks definitely does. And I think he's one of the actors like Alan Benyon or Kevin Lindsay who really believed in the monster he was playing, the alien he was playing, and did it beautifully with his body language, his movement, and he had a real presence. So I think he's superb, definitely, as the cyber leader. Yeah.
Oh, totally. And that's why he got the gig more than once. I mean, he comes back and back and back, doesn't he? FJ can now in the chat saying, I actually missed episode 4 as a kid, and I only heard about the shocking events that evening at choir practice. I only saw the final episode many years later. Yeah, I can imagine that, actually. Yeah, I can remember that. And Steve Braddock saying, I remember watching that episode cliffhanger live. There was no spoiler. It was the Cybermen, and my mouth hit the floor. It was a magical moment. And as I say, it was, if you weren't there at the time, you can't necessarily pick up on what happened that night in 1982.
And then you got in the next episode, you got the lovely flashback as well, which was even better, wasn't it?
Yeah.
With all the different doctors.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. That is a very, very good cliffhanger. When I was watching last night, my notes as I was scribbling away was that I actually wrote good cliffhanger. I mean, unlike episode 1 of Revenge of the Cybermen, where you have that very arbitrary, very quick shot of the Cybermen in their spaceship for no other reason. I mean, the story was called Revenge of the Cybermen, so you knew they were coming anyway. The fact that they appear completely out of the blue, it reminded me of the Sontarans appearing behind Tom Baker in The Invasion of Time, where I can remember watching that on first broadcast and sitting there and going, the Sontarans.
Oh my god. Pete Harrington saying, I love their boots. They're snow boots, aren't they? They were those big 80s snow boots that Princess Diana was wearing all the time. Do you remember when she went abroad? And we've got Stephen O'Neill. This story was chosen by BBC America to represent the Peter Davison era during the 50th anniversary programming. I can understand that. I can understand between that and his last one, for me, I would say, but because this has the Cybermen in, it's got that added edge, isn't it? You've got that big Doctor Who monster. And Funky is saying to us, Digby, I know that object.
Oh god, it's burnt into my memory. I think the wonderful thing about this story is it kind of bloods Davidson. If you see what I mean, it kind of roots him to the tradition of the show, to the central mythos of the show, in a very lovely way. And then George, your point about the flashback, it is so strong because it does train Peter Davison into the show's mythos in a really lovely way. And I must admit, watching back, you can see things that are possibly wrong or don't work quite as well. But I still have. I mean, to my 8.5-year-old self, this was a fantastic story.
Yeah.
It was a brilliant story, brilliant reintroduction to Cybermen, and it still has a place in my affection.
I mean, one thing with my anorak firmly zipped up here that I couldn't quite get to add up was the cyber leader and the Doctor know each other. So is this the same cyber leader that was in Revenge of the Cybermen? Because if it wasn't he blown to smithereens?
I think I thought that as a kid, George, and then of course as you grow up and you meet other Doctor Who fans and stuff, I was sort of ridiculed for saying that. And what a person at one of the Doctor Who Appreciation Society local group meetings I went to explained to me, now don't be silly, he said. Not really. He said something else. Don't be silly, young man, he said to me. But he did say, no, but the cyber leader may have had the implant of history of the cyber race into him, especially when it came to their number one greatest enemy, who would have been the Doctor. Ta-da! Perfect sense for me.
Yeah, that's the usual fan theories, aren't they? Yeah.
That explains how the cyber leader knows the Doctor. 10 years. Yes. It doesn't explain how the Doctor knows the cyber leader.
Well, he doesn't know the cyber leader.
Actually, isn't it?
I mean, cyber leaders just use
they have a line of dialogue where they say something like, "It's been a long time."
No, he says the cyber leader, and trust me, I know this. I've been saying this since 1980. So we meet again,
yes.
Doctor. And that could mean the cyber race meeting the Doctor again.
Yeah,
after
I assumed that.
I
assumed it was a generic.
But I think it's brilliant. But
so sure,
again, David Banks delivers everything beautifully. Hey, Stephen Braddock,
you watch it again, George.
Yeah, bring it on, George. All right, mate. We've got Steve Braddock here, and I remember there was a show I remember there was a show on BBC Two that celebrated the return, showing classic monster entries like the Marshmen and the Sea Devils before the return of the Cybermen. That was called Did You See? Which was a
Gavin
great
Shot
show.
taking the mickey out of the Cybermen and Doctor Who was a bit cheeky. I remember that. Yeah,
and it's on the Blu-ray as well.
Yeah, it is,
Steve
yeah.
Braddock, it's on the season 19 Blu-ray. That episode, well, there's a segment of that episode. But it was. I used to love Did You See, and I was thrilled when it said there was going to be a Doctor Who element because, again, coming so soon after the 5 Faces of Doctor Who, there were clips in that from old Doctor Who's I'd never seen, like the Yeti stuff and all that.
And the Web Planet and stuff like that.
It was just amazing, amazing stuff. Synth John. The 1980s Cybermen design is my favorite, along with the Cyber Controller from Tomb of the Cybermen and the Mondas Cybermen. Thank you for that, my friend. And Pete Harrington wants to know, was this the first squeezing of the hand? Excellent.
Well, the first squeeze of the hand, definitely, but I think didn't Christopher Robbie say excellent in Revenge of the Cybermen?
Except he sort of went, excellent.
Excellent.
Because that was Larry Grayson taking over for that scene. No, it said excellent before, but that was David Banks. David Banks once said at a convention I was at years and years ago, he came up with that because he didn't feel that just saying excellent looked good on camera, so he came up with this whole thing of it, and that stayed with him for his whole run as the cyber leader.
And it'd be a bit odd though, like yeah, beauty or something like that instead. It's very emotional, you know what I mean? It's kind of not quite the same thing.
That's only if there is a Scottish Cyberman. Yokai, hello, Yokai. Oh, you would have had your tea. Excellent. Yokai, Earthshock has superb music, chilling and atmospheric, and it just Yokai.
Yeah. Especially the Cybermen theme, because it was used again, wasn't it, in Colin Baker's era?
Yeah, it was. Some great memories here from you all in the chat. Keep them coming, and thank you for joining us. Oh, Funky's given us a super chat. Hello, Funky. Thank you for this. I'd like to say earlier that James Warwick as Scott is amazing in this. He totally deserves more credit than he gets when considering the usual roles at the time. All right, so let's talk about this then. So Scott, Lieutenant Scott. I like him. He's really good, isn't he? The proper action man.
I have to say, I agree with Funky there that out the cast, James Warwick to me was the best of the bunch.
He's brilliant, isn't he?
Yeah. I mean, I also have to say, I absolutely adore Beryl Reid as an actress. She's done some phenomenal. She did some absolutely phenomenal work in her lifetime. I can point you towards many fantastic performances in films she's done, but bloody hell, she's awful in this.
Yeah, well,
I think
it's funny. I originally wasn't sure about her, but now I love her, and I can't be without her in it now. She's brilliant in it. She just about gets away with it. I think, you know.
But there's a good number of sequences where she's clearly reading from off-camera cue cards.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
It's sometimes she looks like she's in an episode of Crossroads. Do we just go, where's the line?
Well, I mean,
that's the fact you thought warp drive with someone's address.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we've come out to warp drive and it's Coronation Street. Yeah.
I mean, I know by this time she was having various personal battles and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But to me, you know, she was struggling just to get the lines out, let alone deliver any sort of characterization or any sort of consistency. It was like, oh, Beryl, just give it up, go away.
It's well known now, of course, over the years that she had no bloody clue what was going on with this at all, and it comes through. But I'm like Paul. I mean, I didn't mind it back in 1982 because I went, oh, Mooncat's friend, and that was fine. And here she is in this, and I didn't mind it, and I've never minded Beryl Reid in this. I know the cast, and I'm talking about Peter and Janet and Sarah over the years. I've come to like it as well. The fact that there's Beryl. At one point, I think I might have been somewhere where they were slightly critical of, it was one of JNT's stunt casting things, and oh gosh, she didn't. But as times moved on, they go, well, there's Beryl Reid, and she's there, she's doing it. But Philip Shaw's agreeing with you, George. The worst thing in Earthshock is the miscasting of Beryl Reid. It's like she has wandered in from another production and just got on with it, which is exactly what happened.
She's a complete counter though to Ringway, and Ringway, is that really his name? Did that should have been thought about before they wrote that down? Surely, yeah.
I think I got a feeling about Ringway. Got a feeling about him.
Oh yeah.
Well, Ringway. I quite like that because didn't you when you first watched it as a kid, or didn't you not really think Ringway's not really to be trusted here. I think the captain has the level of him already. She's already got the level of him.
I think it works. I think in a weird way, it kind of works. She kind of strikes me as this grizzled, sort of slightly angry, older captain who's bored, who's got these annoying people, and a ridiculously officious subordinate. And I think there's something quite charming about the way she's sort of like she's continually horrible to him. And superficially, we think it's for you might think it's for no reason. Obviously, because it's kind of apparent he's got traitor written all over him.
Yeah.
I think the actor who plays Ringway does a beautiful job. Also, the actress who plays Berger, I think, is very very good. Yeah, very very good, very very steady. I think in a weird way the whole of the ensemble. Beryl Reid, I think she's quite quaint and quite funny, but I think obviously the character has got very, very strong. The troop of soldiers in the first episode, I think are very good. The girl who plays Snyder, the lad who's the radio operator, they're actually very. You have a sense of this is played straight, played as a war film almost. And
it felt like to me very like Aliens. That bit where the location device, the bit with the beepers, and the cavern scenes and the gory deaths as well, very like Aliens.
Death by green pepper. That's a cracking way to do.
I mean, all that was terrible. I remember being a bit sort of. I mean, it's vile, isn't it?
It's gory death, for 5, isn't it? Or when it was shown.
It was about 6:30, 7 o'clock, wasn't it? People don't know when it was on. But it was about 7 o'clock, I think, after Nationwide.
Yeah. Anybody who's ever done any home wiring will, of course, recognise that as a resistance tester.
It's lovely. But yeah, I mean, Eric Saywood, let's give Eric Saywood his due here. This is a cracking script.
Oh, yeah.
It's a really good script. I mean, this is following on the back of The Visitation as well in the same season. So he's doing quite well here, isn't he? He's got 2 for 2 as far as I'm concerned here.
Yeah.
The responsibility here, and he's often talks about how he and John talks about it, and then Eric wanted the Cybermen, and John said, yes, fine, let's do that. And he structures it beautifully, I think. I think that, I don't notice 4 parts. The first part, totally set up, and you don't realize that you're being set up because you just assume, and I remember this at the time, you just assume that this thing is going to be set in the caves and up there where that big machine is, and that the Doctor never gets up to where that big machine is. It's a massive red herring, isn't it? I actually quite like that. You think that these androids, these beautiful, gorgeous androids, you think that they are going to be the baddies. You think there's more of it coming up. It's a massive, big red herring. It sets up the entire plot. The Doctor actually creates the rest of the story because he disarms the bomb.
Is the android... Is the android the same technology as the android on the 5 Doctors?
Yes. Yeah. It's basically
from the same factory, probably. Yeah.
But
they're very expensive because they're valuable, and you have to reuse them.
Yeah.
Because they do get worried.
Before, though, about these androids that are introduced into Earthshock. This becomes a template that is very much the Davison era because, yes, you get the Raston Warrior robot. You also get similar androids in the caves of Androzani. That's how they do androids in this era. Very, very simple. And very elegant. That's a Peter Davison era Doctor Who android, and I think good for them. Fantastic.
It works,
and they are scary looking as well. Yeah. Okay. They are scary looking as well, aren't they?
Absolutely.
The Cybermen have these androids to guard the bomb.
Yes.
Why? Yes. Why don't they just have Cybermen guarding the bomb?
Plausible deniability.
Security, because of all the delegates that are there.
I mean, aside from it would ruin the reveal at the end of episode 1 on the cliffhanger.
That's the main reason, yeah.
Yeah, there is no reason why. Why would the Cybermen have androids?
I can't remember. Eric Saywood gave the reason why, and it makes perfect sense, but I can't remember what it was.
I think it's something to do with the delegation that they're trying to destroy, the delegates who are trying to fight against the Cybermen. I think it's to do with that, really. They're trying to keep out of the way so they're not seen to be part of it, I think.
There's something to do with that, yeah. It's covert activity. I remember Eric Saywood once saying years and years ago, and it made perfect sense. He'd actually thought about it. He thought about the fact now, androids there, them up there.
Yeah. But if they know the delegates have gathered to fight the Cybermen, then they know what the Cybermen are, and so
but that's not made clear. That's not made clear in the story, though, is it?
Well, it's clear enough. The rest of it.
I don't think it matters. I don't think it matters at all. I mean, why would the Cybermen on an antiquated spaceship in the middle of nowhere watching the Nerva beacon? Why did they always have these blooming not looking like Cybermen things in an office in London? I don't think it matters. I think the whole thing about the structure of it is the fact that you've got these androids, and as a viewer, especially as a 12-year-old, I'm brought in to think, oh, that's the monster the Doctor's going to be facing here. There's going to be a load of androids, and then that's all taken away from you, and the next thing you know, you've got the Cybermen, and that changes the dynamic of the entire story.
I suppose they could have had Cybermats guarding the bomb potentially, but then that would have given away to us. To be fair,
and also to the Doctor.
Another inconsistency here is the Cybermen want to destroy this meeting with all the delegates to wipe out the threat to the Cybermen so they can have domination, and yet not a single person in the cast has ever heard of the Cybermen.
Give me a minute.
We don't know. We don't know how well informed. We don't know how well informed the crew are. Obviously, the crew might not be aware of it. It could be that the people or the other delegates that Earth are meeting with have a better idea of who the Cybermen are, and it could be that the cyber incursions of the late 20th and early 21st century are so far in Earth's past that really the Cybermen exist as something that historians know about, but maybe people involved in politics, but the general public aren't aware of. So it could be that that it'd be a bit like saying how well acquainted people are, say, with the threat posed by various forms of, say, I don't know, the Iranian Secret Service. You might know about the Iranians, but would you be able to identify sort of like specific actors or specific organizations or front organizations of the Iranian Secret Service? Likewise, you wouldn't have necessarily an idea of what the Cybermen are. You might have an idea of them as an extraterrestrial threat, but not a clear one, because it's only a dim memory, and maybe it's something only people at the elite level in Earth's government would know about.
Watching the story last night, it was an inconsistency to me that they were this recognized threat to Earth, but not a single person in the military outfit on Earth doing the expedition or anybody on the freighter had even heard the word Cyberman.
Well, I mean,
what if we're just hosting it? We're only hosting the delegates. We're not really involved. Therefore, we don't know anything about the Cybermen, and everything makes sense, and I win.
But clearly, Ringway's got a pen pal on Telos or something like that, because how does he know about them? Or his friends on Facebook from Cybermen, at least. You know what I mean? So
the whole thing about the Cybermen as well is that they were, it is suggested in stories they're a dying race and became part of myth. And that I can't remember which stories was that now, but that is what I'm aware of. That whole thing of because they were dying out, that's why they were desperate. And it's also because the Cybermen's history isn't necessarily all in the same order. It's not, because the Doctor's time traveling. So as far as we're concerned, this one comes after Revenge of the Cybermen. But it doesn't. I don't know. It's all very convoluted. If you've got any examples of this, of what you've heard at conventions, or you've got your theories, or you've read things in the chat, let's do it. Get into the chat. Funky is saying to us for a super chat here. If you want inconsistencies, look at the Troopers. Now, one thing about the production of this is, as is now famous, of course, is that there are incredible mistakes in the show consistently. Whoever was looking after the continuity in this, I hope
made a cameo in the show.
Yeah. I hope they got because there are numerous. It's well catalogued now that there are many. But for me, it still doesn't distract from the fact that this is a damn good yarn. It's a really good story. Steve Braddock is saying to us, watching Earthshock today, the story is very Troughton-like, as is Davison's portrayal of the Doctor. Very interesting. Cool and dry. Hello, Mark. Unlike many classic Doctor Who stories, Earthshock was filmed very close to the shooting script. Thank you. And Stephen O'Neill, episode 1 is, as of 2026, the only episode of the original run of Doctor Who where the entire cast is still alive. I see what you mean. Oh, that's sad news, isn't it? That's sad news. Yeah, they're all here.
I was just saying, talking about things that we don't understand, there's a couple of things I want to ask you guys, and maybe you can clarify for me. There's a bit at the end, we'll get to them in a minute, but there's a bit where Ringway is trying to track down the Doctor and Adric before he says we execute stowaways, and there's a bit with other guards looking for people, and this person jogs past. Who was that? I have no idea.
No idea.
Was it Ringway going for a jog, or the Cybermen? What was
no, it wasn't. I don't
idea.
think it was Ringway. I don't know. I don't know who.
But what was it? Because they see someone going past, and it looks like someone in a tracksuit having a jog.
It could be one of the production crew.
Probably the floor manager getting out of shot.
Yeah. It's definitely one of the extras playing the soldier, because it's in that sort of thing. But again, it wasn't film credit. That part of the show was too lit because it's supposed to be a shadow. It's supposed to be a movement.
Yeah.
And it's a shame because a lot of this story is beautifully lit for once.
It's really atmospheric. Yeah,
they really get it right, and they make, especially when the show gets to the freighter, they make the same corridor of the freighter look slightly different as Peter and Matthew are walking back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. It does feel like they're on different levels.
It's very airy as well, the way they film it, the lighting as well. Like it's mysterious. It's
very mysterious
as well.
Spooky. And the music helps. FJ Kinnell saying to us, Eric Saywood is an interesting writer and script editor. He turned Doctor Who into a grim, violent world with gunrunners, gangsters, cannibals, blood and gore, and death. Sawardian grim noir, I call it. Thank you for that. And Doctor Who 1963, I don't like the goal weakness, to be honest. It's only relevant at the end for one scene. The logical planning to destroy Earth is more important. Yeah, the whole thing about the gold thing, it's very convenient, but it doesn't half go out the window later on in the 80s. It just gets silly because eventually in Silver Nemesis, you've just got Ace pinging gold coins at the Cybermen and it kills them. It's just it just goes ridiculous. And that's come from Revenge of the Cybermen.
I'd hate if we went to a Spandau Ballet concert. They'd be really toned to go there, I'd imagine, yeah.
I mean, it goes from gold dust, which was gold dust and the old whole idea of the glitter gun, to just, I mean, and there's a kind, what happens at the end, I'm going to spoil it for everyone, but what happens when the medal is crumbled against the cyber leader's chest?
Oh, Digby.
Sorry.
Don't need to watch it now, anyone.
Listen, it's 40 odd years old. It's absolutely fine.
Spoilers.
Hey, but there's a kind of continuity there. I think I winced at Silver Nemesis with the slingshot death of the Cybermen. I thought that was not good particularly, but that's how it goes. I think like lighting wise, production wise, I thought they did an incredible job. Episode 1 is amazing. The use of the studios for the caves is actually really chilling, wonderfully atmospheric. I mean, I know Peter Grimwade has a questionable rep amongst the actors in terms of how he treats them, but he produces really great results. He gets great results, and I think the freighter is very, very well used. I think there's a real sense of claustrophobia, but also space that you get the model work is lovely. I think it's I think reason why, in a way, what it reminds me of, people, a couple of people have said Troughton, and it does feel like a classic base under siege story.
Yeah,
because effectively that's what it is, and it's what Alien was. So Lex, when you were saying earlier on, you were getting Alien vibes from it. I think that's no mistake, because Alien basically rips up, in a way, copies or uses what Doctor Who does brilliantly, which is a base under siege story. So I mean, in a sense, this is very much like The Thing, or like Alien itself, and like Tomb of the Cybermen, like Moonbase. These are great base under siege stories.
There's a bit of Terminator there as well, if you look carefully with the androids.
Yes, but also I think a little bit with the Cybermen as well. There's a sense of I mean, partly their struggles with cardboard or Tegan.
The thing with the cardboard.
We don't know how
maybe
heavy
there was gold in it.
Maybe that's why. Yeah.
And Tegan might have been wearing gold.
Yeah, one of the crew members moved that cardboard box no problem on their own 5 minutes before the Cybermen tried to do it.
Maybe they filled it afterwards. You didn't see.
How many of the crew are starting to be sneakily converted? I'm just saying.
That's something I wish they played more on, actually, with the fact that the crew are disappearing. And I think, I know there was an awful lot going on in this. And again, I only came to this resolution years and years later. But the crew were either being chopped down, right? Or harvested. And I think that would have been a bit more of the horror element had you seen some of the crew being hauled away to the cyber base, basically, to be converted into Cybermen. But okay, again, hindsight's a lovely thing. But what you're saying there as well, Diggs, about the show, this is similar in a sense to The Visitation, which Eric wrote as well, because you've got that whole historical thing coming into play. You know, he loves all that, doesn't he? You know, he always, you know, Visitation, the Doctor's responsible for the Great Fire of London. Here in Earthshock, he's partially responsible for being in the right place at the right time for destroying the dinosaurs. And that's all set up again in episode 1. You know, on one of the commentaries or one of the shows on the Blu-ray, making of things, somebody says, I can't remember whom, it might have been David Banks, but somebody said, would the viewers have remembered something that happened? Well, of course they would, because it was only the week before in those days. It wasn't 4 weeks in those days. It was 10.
It was. I think it was the Behind the Sofa with Mark Strickland and Sophie Aldred.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, and it kind of convinced me that there's something wrong with their short-term memory, not
yeah, well, definitely, because we all did. We remembered very well, and obviously so did the viewing audience. And it was a lovely way of just top and tailing the episodes for me, because you've got that lovely setup in part 1, and there's your resolution in part 4.
Yeah,
you know, where you suddenly, along with Tegan, you suddenly go, the freighter, brilliant. Yeah. That's what I call a Doctor Who moment. That's fantastic.
Absolutely. I think this is it's one. I mean, certainly it's one of the reasons why Visitation has, you know, a very strong place, I think, in all of our affections, is because it's that nice little sort of way that, you know, Doctor Who squeezes into established history. And likewise here, you know, the freighter is, you know, the Cybermen accidentally become the people who bring about humanity's evolution.
Yeah.
What a perfect FU moment for the Cybermen. You know? Or like, you came to erase them. No, you've actually guaranteed they're going to evolve and beat you.
Yeah.
So I watched this with Ted, and we watched episodes 1 to 3 Monday, and we watched episode 4 earlier. And when the Doctor says, it might interest you to know it's 65 million years, Ted was immediately like, it's the dinosaurs, because he'd remembered it from episode 1, you know.
Did he not say no way and you said yes way or something like that? Yeah.
No, he should have, though. I'll have words with him in future.
Do please,
He's a bright lad. He's a bright lad, and he knows his stuff.
He is,
He does.
But this is
very
the
much
thing.
like the androids.
That sort of illustrates my point. I mean, Earthshock has been popular now with generations of young people that have come to it, and I think it would be still, and it is obviously, as Teddy's just proved there, it is today, because it's a story. So all these people that are in television today who are saying stories don't matter or pushing messages more than story, no, go and look at things like this, because they're engaged and they will retain the information if it's a good story and it absorbs them, it brings them in. Earthshock sold me as Peter Davison as the Doctor after being heartbroken about Tom, says Synth John. And Funky wants to know, is this the first Braveheart Tegan? Yes, it is. Yeah, well spotted. But this is it. This is where he brings that line in, Braveheart Tegan. It stays for the next couple of years.
It has got the great line of I'm just a mouth on legs, which is perfect to describe Tegan. Definitely, yeah.
And which Janet's used for all these years now, hasn't she?
But just to pick up on your point about the story, JT. So Ted came home from school with a bag on today. He was not a very happy boy. I said after dinner, I'm going to watch episode 4 of Earthshock. And he said, I don't care. I said, okay, well, I'm going to watch it now. So if you want to watch it, come in. He said, no, I don't want to. So anyway, I go in the front room, shut the door. I hadn't got through the opening titles before he'd sidled in.
Yeah.
And he's sitting right next to me. He says, I just want to know what happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was like, okay.
I hope he said, I'm glad Adric's dead. I don't like Adric. I'm sure he said that.
Over my cheering again. Never gets old, does it?
One observation I would make overall, and yes, it's a well-structured story, but there's just not enough material for 4 lead characters.
They admit that, because Nyssa stays in the TARDIS.
Adric gets a fair crack of the whip in this one. He's the second lead.
Obviously, yeah.
Tegan's given a bit to do, Nyssa is barely a bit player in this one.
Yeah. No, that's true.
But the problem is they bring all the army in, don't they? All the crew in, and that's like too many other characters as well.
And well, on that, one other thing that got me is why is nobody surprised about the inside of the TARDIS when they walk into it?
Well, James Warwick does a very subtle look and a gulp, and oh my god, it's really big inside.
Yeah, Scott's a bit shocked, and he goes,
apart from him, no one else does really.
Yeah. But, it's like, come on, that should have a reaction.
Yeah.
Well, last week we had "Strike Me Pink," didn't we, from the policeman?
Yeah,
so
Black Orchid. No, I like that scene. I love again how the incidental music sounds like the clock. And it always takes me back to being 12 watching this and being so excited at this point, thinking, where's this going? Because the countdown was on, the music was going with it. The Doctor's rushing around like a madman all over the place. These things are appearing out of the console. Everybody's getting in his way. He really just wants everybody to disappear, which if he doesn't sort this out, they will. It's a really, really interesting. I love it. It's just really good. And then you've got these cuts back to the Cybermen who are just so chilled. And just going, we proceed towards the destruction of Earth. Yeah, rub it in, mate. It's fine. Just keep going. It's cool. I love that dramatic build-up, and I still enjoy it all today. I just think it's absolutely magical. I love it.
There's some great angles of the Cybermen's face, when they're priming the bombs and stuff. They look really
One note I did make for was, there are some very good camera angles where it's a low angle shot looking upwards towards the Cybermen. Yes. And that is very well done.
I think it's great. Yeah.
I love them. I love this picture. And even today, you can wheel these out, Paul, today, as they do at conventions and stuff like that. And everybody goes, Cyberman, including the wee ones. They get it. They know what it is. Much better than anything today, by the way, in my book, these beautiful versions.
I was going to say, JT, about I do like the fact we were talking earlier about not seeing much of the cybernization process, but you have the wonderful chin that we had, the glass chin, which lends to that love that, oh my God, there's someone in there kind of feeling. And that's what's really quite well. It's a shame it's lost in episode 4 when they have to paint over it Heidi's mic, David Banks' mic that keeps sort of falling round the front of his mouth.
Yeah.
But it really adds to that sort of sinisterness of the Cybermen that there is actually a living thing
human.
In there.
I mean that's one of the things that I think the majority of Doctor Who fans from the time who grew up with this version missed when they came back. Is the fact that that silver jaw has gone. I know Davison was quite disappointed to find out after his time that had gone as well, because he found that quite horrific. But the poor actors, Mark Hardy, David Banks, everybody else being screwed into those helmets, and then for the two leads to have that battery more or less stuck on their face so it can pick up their. Oh, it must have been hell. Must have been hell. No wonder it was sliding off, because they must have been sweating buckets in there.
Yeah, it was taped into the helmet, the side of the helmet, wasn't it? With gaffer tape, probably, and then it just kind of slid down with the heat. Yeah.
Well, Paul Richards is saying to us, the Cybermen voices don't sound electronic enough. I prefer the 5 Doctors' voices. Oh, I can't remember what they sound like in the 5 Doctors. I thought it was very.
Don't they sound the same? Don't they sound the same?
Yeah.
I thought they sound the same.
It depends what version you watch, Lex, I think, to be fair.
All 5 million, zillion, billion versions of it. I like these voices for the Cybermen. Again, it's probably because these are my first Cybermen. Yes, okay, I was around for Revenge of the Cybermen, but I was too young. So these are the first Cybermen I see, and I love them for the similar reason that George will love his versions. I like the fact that this isn't just a man in a tin suit and a helmet. You can hear it clearly. You can see the jaw, as Paul's saying. You're reminded that they're human, similar to the way that they did in the 10th Planet with their hands.
Yeah.
So I like this voice more. I think when they go to, I find that distracting to a bit. I think, oh no, they're not robots, which is what the new series made the mistake of it, and they made them too robotic. They're not robots.
I mean, I saw this first on video in, it would have been the mid to late 90s, I should think. And at the time, even then, they still looked good. They still kind of passed in a way that you kind of always kind of think the Doctor Who is a bit cheap and looks a bit naff. I don't think these Cybermen do, and I think they've aged incredibly well. I think they look great in the 90s, and I thought they looked great last night as well.
I still prefer them to anything that new series have produced. Definitely, they're probably by far my favorite of the most recent iterations. Definitely, yeah.
As I said, to me, they just didn't convey that sense of power that previous iterations had done.
Oh, fair enough.
I think I get your point, George, because I did think they looked skinny.
Yeah, they don't pick your legs.
I've got fatter.
Yeah.
I noticed that more last night with the fact that both Mark Hardy and David Banks are painfully thin.
Yeah.
And that wasn't to get into the suit. That was them. And I just thought, my God, goodness me, they must have been working out an awful lot.
I think the controller had all the pies in Attack of the Cybermen.
He did.
There wasn't any left for anyone else.
Funky saying to us, this has one of Davison's most acid lines. My arms are only this long. I can't get any further
That's
away.
A great line. It really is. Yeah.
It's a fantastic line. This is the Fifth Doctor, really, for me, becoming who he is. He's got this wonderful scene at the beginning, this argument with Adric, which you would think I wouldn't like because I don't like soap opera elements, but again, this sets up this whole thing of Adric wants to go home. How are you going to get out of that one?
And the way he apologizes to him as well is to help him team up and fix something, and get that bond again.
Yeah. It's just interesting where the Fifth Doctor suddenly starts to become a little bit more
blunt.
Spiky. Yeah.
Sharp, blunt.
Powerful. I don't know, a bit more sort of. I don't know what the word is. I can't think what the word is, but well, they point that out, don't they? They point that out. He's a little bit grumpy here. He's a little bit crotchety. Yeah, he is. He's becoming something not what he looks, basically.
I think he is growing into this sort of slightly more, somewhat more assertive, somewhat more active role. It does feel that he is becoming more of a genuine protagonist. I think for the same way this kind of did for me in relation to Peter Davison, the same way as Remembrance of the Daleks did for me for Sylvester McCoy's Doctor. You have the sense of the Doctor being when he's diffusing the bomb, or the ghetto blaster as some people call it, but when he's diffusing the bomb, that wonderful dynamism, that wonderful action, everything is all systems go. He's going flat out. He's very much the role of the hero.
Yeah,
and we're seeing him play the Doctor as the hero, as being not simply someone who's good, but someone who's in control of the situation, who's leading the situation. And it's very subtly done, the way in which Scott moves from being someone who's this very good, very powerful, basically a bit of a guard dog, and he's almost like trying to sniff Davidson out, or sniff the Doctor out as are you a friend, are you an enemy? To he suddenly he goes from being this sort of person who's asking the Doctor and demanding the Doctor, suddenly he becomes someone who's deferring to the Doctor. He's almost becoming, okay, I'm becoming your assistant. And you get a similar thing, I think, in Remembrance, in that you have, although it happens much more quickly, you have McCoy's Doctor going from being sort of the comedic character you have in season 24 to becoming very much the sort of, he's an authorial figure. He's very much in the way that we'd understand Pertwee's Doctor as being an authorial figure, in someone who we implicitly trust. And
it's like
this story does brilliantly.
It's like that line he says, the Doctor says, "Hello, I am the Doctor," and then Scott replies, "Will you just shut up?" In his military way,
I mean, this is one of the things that's brilliant about this, because this is a traditional element in a sense, because here's the Doctor and co blundering into something and therefore getting the blame. Now that's registered twice, once in the caves, and again with that wonderful line from Adric, "Let's go before we're caught and blamed." Because he knows the routine by this point, doesn't he? He knows it's going to happen, and he's minutes away from getting them out of there. Seconds rather. He's like, "Oh, come on." But I quite like that whole thing when where the Doctor meets Scott and he's bullied. The Doctor is bullied for a while, and he's not quite sure how to respond with it. Davison's Doctor is not like Tom's. Tom's would have been incredible. He would have wiped the floor with this guy immediately with some sort of lines going on. Davison's is not. Davison's is very wet when it comes to this, in a sense. He's not quite sure how to deal with this.
For me, therein lies the problem. As I said, when we looked at Time Flight, this is purely a personal thing. For me, at that time, and looking again yesterday, my opinion still holds. Peter Davison was miscast as the Doctor. He was wrong for the part. He just does not sell it at all to me. He just does not have the gravitas, the charisma, the presence that his four predecessors all had by the bucket load. He's just somebody on the screen in a very bland costume.
Do you not like the costume?
No, I think he is incredibly bland.
Do you?
Yeah.
I love it. Probably because, again, my age and I grew up. For me, it captures the 1980s. Yeah. I mean, I've said it before on our shows. Peter Davison, for me, as Doctor Who, fitted in with that whole Brideshead Revisited, Top of the Pops look that was going on, and I just thought this is fresh, fresh, and it felt fresh for me. When I look at it now, I still think it feels fresh. You know, because I get those vibes from the early 1980s again. It's weird that.
I agree partly with what George is saying. I don't think he compares to 1 to 4 at all. But I think actually he is a breath of fresh air, and he is actually quite strong in this story. And I quite like his performance. It's got a strong characterization. And when he's up against a Cyberman, talking about about emotions and stuff, and about life, smelling a flower, eating a well-prepared meal, all that kind of stuff is brilliantly done. Yeah, and really, really, really passionate, really well done. I like his performance. Yeah.
It's like with if Tom was in that episode as the Doctor with Scott, and Scott said "shut up" to him, Tom's Doctor would have said "shut up, I'm thinking." He would have been different, wouldn't he?
Oh, it would have been totally different, and that's I mean, we have to remember back in 1982. This is Peter's first season. We are coming off the back of the Tom Baker era, so this is a shock. This is still a culture shock to many viewers. But it was successful. I mean, 9 million people tuned in for Peter. It was a huge increase on what was going on before, probably because they moved it into the midweek. But no, it cemented its popularity for a while. Andy is saying to us, Andy Four is saying, on the bridge, all of the characters look up at some sort of screen, but we never see it. Synth John is saying to us that there's something about Peter's performance that really hit the mark for me in this. And Stephen O'Neill, Eric Saywood considered having the cyber leader survive the story, providing yet another sign of the Fifth Doctor's fallibility in comparison to his predecessor, but ultimately decided against it. There's no way you could have done that. How would they have got rid of it in 25 minutes? Funky is saying, by the way, JT, a quick reminder that my birthday present yesterday, so this is my birthday. Well, happy birthday for yesterday.
Happy birthday,
Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Yeah, nice to see you. And thanks for joining us. Steve Braddock saying, I love Peter's icy delivery of Cybermen at the climax to part 3. Yeah, I mean, it works because I think it helps that the actor himself knows what the Cybermen are because he remembers them from when he was a boy. The first actor, let's face it, the first actor in Doctor Who to have watched Doctor Who.
Yeah.
This is a weird thing, isn't it? I mean, there's that anecdote that when he got, apparently Davison was saying he was prone to the giggles, and one of the ways he got over getting the giggles was to think about something that frightened him, and he thought about a Cyberman from the Troughton era.
Yeah.
And he's on record as having enjoyed the Troughton era and having enjoyed.
He's a huge Troughton fan,
I mean, obviously, George, just on Peter Davison, I Tom's my favourite Doctor. Tom is my Doctor. I grew up with Tom. I think Peter Davison's Doctor really works in this story in a weird way. In that it's because he's quite, he goes from being, very diffident and somewhat vulnerable. It's lovely to watch his transition in the story. He, the fact that the way he convinces Scott to trust him is nothing he actually said, but it's what he does. And the exchange he has with the cyber leader.
Yeah,
I don't know if Tom, obviously Tom could have done it, and I'd have enjoyed it massively. But I think it's something that Peter Davison's Doctor, I think, does uniquely well. I think that's for me, that's one of the high points for him as the Doctor. It's where he shows his compassion, his humanity, his vulnerability, but also he almost shows why you would have to fight the Cybermen, why there is an interior life to being a human that is just absent from being a Cyberman. And almost you have the horror of what the Cyberman is. The Cyberman is just power for its own sake, expansion for its own sake. They are literally hollow men, but who will be prepared to do anything. Whereas as a functioning real human, you have that interior life, you have that sense of meaning, sense of love, desire, drive, and it's that clash, I think, that's really so strong.
The other thing about this story that I always remember as well is, as a boy, I'd always grown up in that period between Revenge of the Cybermen and Earthshock in various books and stuff. And I'd grown up with being told in these books that the Cybermen could always hide in shadows.
Yes.
Earthshock proved that for me. Because I think they look fantastic in the silos. You know, okay, the lights need to be down just that little bit more for me. But I can believe that they are in there somewhere and they're hiding, and everybody has to be very careful when they walk around. And then Tegan goes and messes that up, of course, because one comes right up behind her. You know, I like that. I think that's really good. And you know, I think for youngsters now that could be quite scary. I hope anyway. I'd like them to be frightened by this, or a little bit worried anyway.
I think that the cardboard aside, when they do burst out of the silos towards the end of the cliffhanger, that's a wonderful cliffhanger. And if you can suspend disbelief about the cardboard and the cellophane and stuff, it's a lovely way of them emerging, and it's really quite atmospheric as well.
Yeah, but it also takes you back to the invasion and stuff like that. Eric Saywood has definitely done his homework here, and he says this, didn't he? He'd gone back and he'd read things, he'd looked at the scripts, he'd looked at episodes that existed, he'd done his homework, and you can tell he's taken little bits of cyber stories, the gold, the bursting out of trunks, the shadows, you know, all this, the bits about Telos and all.
Credit where it's due, some of the visuals are very good. I think one thing that the production does very, very well is really sell the idea that there's a lot of Cybermen there. I mean, I don't know how many costumes were created for the story. I'm going to guess about 7 or 8.
Not many. It was something like that,
But the way it uses split screen and rapid cutting and all that sort of stuff, you really get the impression there is a decent sized platoon of them on the rampage.
It's not Day of the Daleks, is it?
No. I do feel sorry for the guys playing them though, George. And I've noticed this recently, obviously, as I've got older, because the fact that we do know they were literally screwed into the helmets. Now, one of them walked off set apparently on the first day, saying, "Nope, claustrophobia, no, not a chance." So that was that. But there they are for the day, as they're needed. You know, from call time onwards. All day, walking around and around and around just to achieve that wonderful thing of we've got to do the volume. So you've got to come from this way, you've got to come from that way, you've got to come from that way, you've got to come from up there, you've got to. How good were those? What we used to call extras, but we're not allowed, I don't think we're allowed to call
supporting artists.
But how good were they, and how patient were they? And I hope they were appreciated because they worked hard to get what Peter Grimwade needed.
And very basic tricks like reversing the camera image, so the shot is actually left to right instead of right to left, so it looks like it's a different shot.
And you can even forgive, because we now notice it thanks to DVD and Blu-ray, but we can even forgive the end of one episode, My Army Awakes, that one, because it's the same shot.
I like that shot.
7 cyber leaders, so that's a giveaway.
Very 80s, isn't it? The way it looks, it's good.
But it was so brief at the time. You didn't notice. Now you do, and you do notice it's the cyber leader in front, which it wasn't. It wouldn't be. Again, one of those many terrible little production errors there. No, come on.
Yes.
A director and a continuity person, not really on full.
Yes.
I think you can forgive it because it's nice and dramatic, isn't it? I mean, I think the production values in this are actually really good. For Doctor this time, definitely,
But somebody should have said, "Oh, Black Handle, step off, please, while we do this shot."
Yeah, exactly. I can hear that in my Oi, Black Handle's love. Come on, David, move it, darling. You're not in this one, love. I can hear that now. It's good to see you all in the chat. Thank you very much for joining us. I hope you're enjoying this. This is as part of our Cyberman 60, where we are celebrating 60 years of the Cybermen here in 2026. This has been the most requested Doctor Who story that we've had into the Who's Views mailbag over 3 years. When are you going to do Earthshock? When are you going to do Earthshock? When are you going to do it? And I have purposely kept it to now because this is the Cybermen's 60th anniversary year. So I hope you're enjoying it. Sean Cryer is with us. Zach Whitten, it's good to see you as well. He was saying to us that Earthshock was so good. And Pete Harrington was also saying the suits were aircraft pilot uniform, were they? And Kate Bush uses one in the video. She does. Yeah, she absolutely does. And Sean Cryer is saying, I always found David Banks to be too emotional, but light years ahead of the new series versions. I remember that actually, Sean, being mooted by other fans in the early 90s. Oh, the Cybermen were too emotional, or David Banks was too emotional because of the excellent thing.
There's a bit where the Cyberman crawls around the corner, and then one of the Cybermen's like, "Oh, he's been shot," and that was a bit emotional.
Actually, one of the notes I made was what I scribbled down was about the Cyber Leader was it was a very Shakespearean performance. There was an awful lot of emoting and lots of stress and accents in the voice, and I'm going to emphasize this word.
Oh, bless the old days.
But sometimes it's better because I'm going to say something blasphemous here, but some of the earlier Cybermen, certainly the ones in Tomb and Moonbase, sometimes you have to re-listen to the line they said because somebody's hard to understand. At least David Banks' diction's very good. That's a good thing about it.
Yes,
so,
true.
Yeah.
I just had visions that it's sort of like in between shots and standing at the side of the set and talking to somebody else and going, and when I worked with Larry gave me this wonderful advice.
I love those stories.
Yeah, never play a Cyberman with a bit of advice. Probably,
Sadly, there's not many people around that can tell you those stories. I used to love hearing these things. Yeah, when I worked with Larry, who? I love all those stories. Forbidden Man is saying Davidson nailed the part as being the Doctor. Thanks for that, Forbidden Man. Avon01, Doctor Who is becoming more assertive and wants to be in a commanding role and the leader and not let the companions tell them what to do. That's a great point because that ties in with what I was trying to express earlier, is that the fifth Doctor here is still actually not quite used to the fact he's not the man he was, and he's looking completely younger. So therefore, no one's going to take any notice of him at all. And yet he's 700 and something years old at this point. And here's Scott coming around, just looking at him as some sort of, at the very beginning, criminal. It wouldn't have happened with the previous four, because they were older bodies and they were, totally different. It would have been different, but here he is. Scott's got him there. So yeah, I think that's a good point, Avon. That he is trying to find his way and saying, no, I'm in control here. I'm the star, love. I'm going to find out what's going on. That's a great point, that, Avon. I like that. Thank you. And FJ can now say there are flashes of that grumpiness and sarcasm throughout this season.
He is still an old man. I know I know the Doctor is in a young body, but he is still an old man. And I think Davison in this is particularly, I think you get that. You get that there's an old man behind this young kind of facade.
The thing about it is you never see him try to get a chair going, oh, to get a chair. That really helps.
Will we have scores on the Cybermen stuck in the TARDIS doors, says Andy. Bless you. That actually reminds me, I'll show you in a second. Phil Shaw saying to us, I love how the threat of Tegan's death forces him to show his affection for her. Interesting. Again, I watched this scene now, Philip. Is he showing affection for her? Or is he just showing his loyalty? I don't know. You look at that whole scene, there's nothing romantic in that at all, which I know a lot of the new fans read into, Paul, don't they? They read into it, that Doctor fancies Tegan, or there's something going on, which is a load of nonsense. You look at the dialogue.
Yeah, he just says she's a friend, and that's it. That's all you need. That's it.
And you do not see this friendship. You do not see. You do not consider this friendship a weakness. I do not kill her.
Yeah.
It shows where the Doctor's weakness is throughout any of his incarnations.
Yeah.
His friends are his weakness because there is some sort of emotional tie to each and every single one of them.
Yeah, you can't have an affection with someone without making it sexual, can't you? That's the thing. And
that's the thing.
Lucius can't distinguish between the two. That's the thing. Yeah. So.
I just want to remind everybody at this point, before I forget, that, of course, our friend Daryl Joyce, artist, did bring out a lovely picture a couple of years ago in his Moments in Time calendar 2025 of a scene from Earthshock, and it was that one.
Yeah, that is lovely. Really nice.
I still think to this day that is the best special effect they made for the show.
Yeah. Again, credit where it's due. Another great visual was the shot of the Cyberman fused into the door.
Definitely.
Yes, the one.
And that lovely piece of art there from Daryl in his calendar from a couple of years ago.
Lovely.
Absolutely gorgeous. Captures that moment beautifully, I think. Well done, Daryl.
No, I think whatever you think of the story, I think Peter Grimwade is a really good director and he directs it really well. And there's a lot in it. And I think I'm a shame he didn't do money more after this because he fell out with JNT. But he's such a good director. He really is. Regardless of how they work with actors, he was very good visually as a director.
I agree with you to a certain point. When I was watching yesterday, I couldn't help thinking there was some slack in there where I was thinking you should have cut before then. The camera's on that for far too long. You're losing the impact. There should have been tighter editing to make it punchier in a lot of places.
Any particular examples you could give, George, that you noticed?
In the first episode where the squadron were having the gun battle with the two androids, quite aside from the fact that they were all absolutely lousy shots until, of course, the script required them not to be lousy shots. Yeah. You know, there was just so many shots of them firing the weapons and the camera staying on that one shot for 10 seconds plus. And it's like, it doesn't need to be that. You need 2 seconds. You need to cut to something else.
I think, I don't know, maybe they have that special effect. They want it to be sort of more front and center. Maybe, you know, more of is made of spectacle at that time. But yeah,
I know this could well be a bit of an unfair comparison, but compare it to the way Douglas Camfield filmed and cut the cyber battle in The Invasion. Now, I know that was done on film on location, so he did have an advantage, but you know, something that was made 14 years previously, how much more punchy and how much more impact that had compared to this.
It's I think, I mean, if I remember correctly, I mean, I love the battle. The battle in Invasion is wonderful. Invasion it's a wonderful. It's really a story of two halves in some respects. It feels very much like an urban thriller for the first,
and then it becomes a sci-fi story.
Then it becomes a sci-fi, and it's fantastic. I mean, you know, part shade sort of like, you know, Kevin Stoney, who's just amazing. But I think it's slightly more. There's almost like a montage effect with the battle, if I'm thinking correctly, in The Invasion. Which I think maybe they're going for a slightly more naturalistic, as far as any of these things can be, naturalistic approach in Earthshock. I mean, it still commanded my attention. I mean, I appreciate, obviously, you know, I'm not looking at this in a detached way. It's a subjective response, but it still commands my attention. It still commanded the excitement. I still found myself worrying that Tegan wouldn't get back into the TARDIS okay. For God's sake,
I wasn't worried about that at all.
You didn't care less, yeah.
No,
well, lucky it wasn't Peter Moffat directing this, God bless him, but I think
no.
The pacing would have been way off and just really, really slow. I mean, if you look at the extended version of The Five Doctors, the first one that came out, and they have the long shots, I know they were the kind of end of shots, really, but that's how the pace would have been, that really slow, laboured, but this is much more punchy, much pacier. I agree there are bits that maybe a bit slower, like George said, but I think it is based on some director we've had at that time. He's really good compared to
Don't get me wrong, I don't think it's unwatchable, but I watched it and thought, oh, you know, you could have. And again, I'm fully aware of the constraints of a TV studio, multi-camera, and you know, little if any post-production work, no editing, and all the rest of it. But as a viewer, I couldn't think, oh, you could have tidied that up a bit and given it a bit more punch. But I mean, the shots have just stayed there too long.
This is the conversation that I'm having deja vu at the moment, because I've been having this conversation before many years ago, where a friend of mine was saying to a group of us, imagine had Graham Harper or Matthew Robinson got hold of this script. Now, of course, they weren't on the scene at this point. Well, Graham was around, of course, but he wasn't directing as such. But for an action, this is an action story, and this is what Eric Saywood is actually quite good at when it comes to this sort of stuff. He understands what he's got to do, and he writes a really good action adventure thriller stroke science fiction story, and everything's there. But I do think Peter Grimmo's done a great job. He's done an okay job here. But I think had Nathan John just cast a little bit more around to see, do we have any action adventure thriller directors around?
Instead of going forward, you know, what if somebody like Douglas Camfield or David Maloney came back to do this one?
Yeah. It's one of those what ifs, isn't it? Who views about what would have happened? You know,
am I misremembering it, gents? But didn't Graham Harper work with Douglas Camfield? Wasn't he his assistant director?
Mm-hmm. Yes, he was. Yeah.
So I mean, you can see a lot of Camfield has rubbed off on Graham Harper, especially in his early days. You know, especially the way allegedly he would direct by getting down there with the actors and saying, you know, energy. You know,
Peter Grimwade worked on a few like Pyramids of Mars and Demons and stuff like that, and things like that. So he's
had a long history with the show.
Yeah.
Hence Grimwade syndrome in Robots of Death.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah. Zach Whitten is saying to us, I liked how in the flashback scene that the Cybermen refers to the Doctor in the ice tombs of Talos, but the clip of Trout was actually from Wheel in Space, as tomb hadn't been found in 1982.
Yeah. It was still a great moment though, because we wouldn't have seen that clip from Wheel in Space at that point, probably, unless you had a pirate copy. I'm saying nothing.
It was another thrill. I mean, this whole again, 12 years old, watching this on broadcast in 1982. I was fan geeking out over this. This was something absolutely not seen in Doctor Who at this particular point. This was the second flashback sequence we'd had. I'm including Logopolis here. This was just good. You know, this was lovely. This was the Cybermen confirming this whole thing. Oh, they've seen the police box. That's in the race bank. They recognize this. So they don't know who the Doctor is at this point. So they go back, and it's basically this lovely scene of reintroducing and pleasing the audience, but also saying to the Cybermen, right, okay, none of these guys were in the cave, so he's regenerated again. It's fan service, but it's done properly.
I wonder what the cyber leader say. Can you hand me down that copy of 10th Planet, please?
Episode 4. Just give me episode 4 there.
Yeah. What's good about that is it's like the new fans that were watching at that time were getting a taste of the past actors who played the Doctor as well.
Well, it wasn't even. I wouldn't say new fans, because in those days, of course, you just did not have access to it at all. This is So even the fans that were old, like Paul and George, they would have been, you know.
I prefer mature.
I prefer mature as well, George. Thank you.
It would have been a nice little treat for a lot of them to be able to see some of their childhood memories in this as well. Because I remember that particular episode, gentlemen, I was watching with my granddad. He was looking after myself and my sister because my mum was at work. And so and then my granddad went, oh, I remember him. And it was William Hartnell.
I mean, another
weird.
Another nice little bonus with that is the estate of William Hartnell, Patrick Trout, and Tom Baker would have got a nice little royalty.
Yeah, they would have done. Yeah, more of those, please. And actually, they did, didn't they? They got some more for the following season.
Yes,
in number 20.
So even for teenage Phil, seeing Hartnell and Troughton on video, because I could only afford maybe 1 or 2 videos a month, and I wasn't going to waste them on a black and white one. So it was exciting for me to see bits of Hartnell and Troughton, because I just wasn't as familiar with them.
Yes. The thing was, at that time, that was, about 50% of the Trout material that existed.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Stephen O'Neill is telling us that the prop department manufactured exactly 9 Cybermen suits. So that would have worked out. Because how many were in Blackpool? About 5. I think there must have been 4 or 5 in Blackpool. So the rest I think must have been a couple in Longleat, and maybe a couple in storage in case they needed them for telly. And Connor Sullivan saying Earthshock was the very first Cybermen story that neither Kit Pedler nor Jerry Davis had any direct involvement in writing or producing. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. All down to Eric Say with this particular one. Zach Whitten wants to know, wasn't there a scene of 2 Cybermen talking in the silos and it looked like they were sharing a joke?
Yes.
Just having a chat.
It's lovely. The 2 stories. Call back to the 2 stormtroopers. In Star Wars, it's sort of like they're chatting away, and there's lots of hand gesture stuff going on.
Yeah. How's the missus? Oh, she's all right. Going on again. She's no good for you.
Always giving it that.
You're done with a virus.
Stephen O'Neill, despite being the main guest of the star of the serial, Beryl Reid's screen time in parts 2 to 4 amounts to only 20 minutes. Does it?
feels longer.
It does feel longer.
It feels long. It does feel a bit longer, yeah.
And not necessarily for the right reasons.
Can I check? Does anyone know at the time, was that our actual natural? Well, not, it says dyed here, but was it dyed for this or that?
This is the wig.
Natural,
it's a wig.
That was very
okay.
obviously a wig.
Yeah.
Is it really a wig? Okay.
Yes, that
wig.
Possibly a wig.
Did she
be a
generally
wig.
wear wigs because she all had different coloured hair, didn't she, all through her life? Didn't she? Really?
She did,
Yeah.
bless her. Yeah.
And one thing that should have happened with Beryl Reid just made her look so laughable was seeing where she's sitting at a desk and she's writing some notes. Why didn't somebody say to her, take the gloves off? I mean, she's supposed to be writing with a pair of thick leather gloves on, for goodness sake.
I can go further than
It's
that.
good for the master.
I can go further than that now. Why is she writing anyway when it should be?
Computer, yeah.
Yes, but also on the subject of typing things in, you couldn't tell that Matthew Wardhouse knew that console was rigged to explode, could you?
Bless him.
Well,
Bless
he's
him.
apparently said that wasn't what happened. If you watch on the season 21 box set, his interview with Matthew Sweet, he claims that was part of the character.
Matthew, we
yeah,
think
you're
you're lying there,
Yeah,
Matthew.
yeah.
We think you were a little bit scared of an explosion. And quite right, too. Those BBC boys knew what they were doing when it came to blowing things up. He could have lost his hands.
It was like, it was like somebody had put a cobra or a python on the table and told him to go and stand next to it.
Yeah.
Well, to be honest, I mean, when you're told something like that, I'm bearing in mind he's had a year's worth of experience now in Doctor Who, so he knows the score. Mm-hmm. And the fact that Matthew, all you've got to do is you've just got to stand here. We're going to blow this whole thing up. What?
Yeah,
again,
I like the Troughton story, but that was at Fraser Hines said about they did explosions in the war games, and the guy was there, the special effects guy, and he's got 3 fingers and 1 eye missing, and that'll be fine. Yeah,
but again, this is down to the director thinking it through and coming up with a better shot. That he should have done shots of Matthew Wardhouse up close before it was rigged for an explosion, and then do a very quick cutaway of the explosion. It would have had the same impact rather than doing a static long shot of the poor guy, obviously terrified of what's about to happen, think he's going to lose at least 3 of his fingers.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I think I might have been, because and that thing you're expected to commit so much. You're supposed to sit there, boom. I mean, your eyes, your hat, it burns. I mean, what else can you do? I mean, I don't know. But yeah, I think again, I agree with you. The director should have been a bit more right. Let's just show Matthew here what's going to happen.
Yeah,
it could have all gone the other way, of course, even after that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, Matthew almost loses his legs in the final scene as well, doesn't he?
Hey,
really?
You know, at the bit of the lift, he's about to go down, and he just goes through the door. The door's about to close.
He almost gets squashed. Yeah.
Oh, you can blame stagehands for that. Very enthusiastic stagehands going like this. Well, I'm going home soon. Funky, thank you for your super chat. Well prepared meal. I can imagine it, says Funky. Are you expecting a well prepared meal in for you, mate?
The Cybermen in his picture are having a well prepared meal.
Yeah, brilliant speech though. It really well written, a really nice, and for an actor, a lovely piece to deliver. Peter must have loved that. Against this emotionless giant, it must have been lovely to deliver this. Because I say, let's be aware. Peter is aware of what the Cybermen are. They are his favourite monsters in Doctor Who. Real Geriatric, nice to see you. Far from my favourite Doctor, but Earthshock is a great story. Good to see you, mate. Let's see what else we've got in the chat here for us as well. Rory Neal is going, Adric! God bless. Sarah's best delivered line in the entire episode.
Yeah. I believe they had trouble keeping a straight face during that final scene, though, didn't they? Trying to care for the death of Adric must be very difficult. Yeah.
I have to say, what I think is a very strong contender for the naffest creative decision ever in Doctor Who in its entire history was the silent rolling end credits of episode 4.
Oh, that was John, wasn't it?
God almighty. I mean, that's right up there with question marks on the shirt collar as just don't.
Did he not steal that from Coronation Street when someone died?
Yes,
and the titles rode in silence as well. Yeah.
He took it from Coronation Street because he remembered the impact he had. But I have to say, at the time, I was like, oh, what's this about?
Yeah.
Now I find it embarrassing. I think you should just go into the titles.
I mean, if he'd been a character that you actually liked, that may be different. If it was Joe
I don't think so.
Or Sarah Jane, you might have felt more. I just had him less. He was dead.
I think it's too much. I think it's too much realizing what the show is about, and I don't think it should be about. I mean, the whole thing about the Doctor Who closing titles for me is taking you out of that world. Yeah. This didn't do that. It had an impact on you. You know, you weren't taken out. I didn't like it.
But isn't that good that it had an impact on you?
No, I want to be taken out of the story when I go into it. You know, I want to go into Doctor Who's world, and then I want to come back to reality. I don't want to be left there for an entire week for actually nothing, as we saw in Timelight. And there's no resolution there, really, because they get on with it very quickly. No, I just think it's a bit tacky now.
It makes it serious. Okay, Adric is actually now dead. No. We wouldn't have this no music, silent credits if he wasn't. And I actually think the first part of Time Flight, now I wasn't in the review. Obviously, I've watched it and really enjoyed it. But I thought
it's got the word time in it, hasn't it? That's the thing. Yeah.
Like when they're like, oh, you know, let's go back. And the Doctor's like, no, just leave it. I think that's quite good for
it was just
classic Doctor Who.
It was just so far on the other side of NAF. It could send NAF a postcard. It was just cringeworthy.
I disagree.
Well, that's what it's all about. It's about agreeing to disagree and agreeing. But I think it's tacky as well, especially now that I get older. I just think I would never have. Again, it was one of these things that Nathan Turner did for me, where I wish I'd say to him, "Why the hell did you do that?"
I have to say though, years and years back, I stumbled across somebody put that clip on YouTube. I have no idea if it's still there. If it is, I must go and find it. And they actually redubbed the end credits with the theme music from Terry and June. And it fits it perfectly.
That's probably too much. Miles Diaz. Miles Diaz.
It wasn't me.
Chat. Thank you, Miles, for your super chat. Good to see you. Hope you're well. Hope everything's going all right in the production studio as well. Good evening, panel. Earthshock is one of my favorites. The atmosphere, the cast, the music, those androids. It has everything I want in a Doctor Who story. Yeah, I'd agree with you, Miles, on that one. It has for me as well. We are nitpicking a little bit with this as well, but it is purely because it's a review, but it is nitpicking, I think, what we're saying here. So thank you for that, mate. Really appreciate it. Good to see you. And Darren Reed, in the story production subtitles, the gun which the Cybermen gain entry to the bridge is said to be a prop repurposed from Blake 7. Was it Baben's gun?
No idea.
I'd have to go back and look. Not sure.
I was going to say, going back to Adric's death, which is interesting. At the time, I never really cared for the character. I think Matthew Orris was better in this episode than he has been in most of the other ones. But he was still an annoying character. But I was really surprised they actually killed him off. That was really a real shock. I wish I actually had more affection for the character. I may have cared more. But at the time, I was shocked they did it. But slightly relieved as well, if you know what I mean. It's really bizarre.
They put a heading in that episode as well, didn't they? Where the half-dead Cybermen come down up the stairs. And when you first time watched it, you thought, is the Cyberman going to kill Adric here? And the Cyberman just falls down dead, and he looks up, and he just carries on looking at its orbit, doesn't he? So
it's weird, isn't it, actually? Because I'm, from my point of view, I'm 12 years old, as I say. I wasn't aware that older fans did not like Adric at all. I'm not involved with any of that sort of stuff. I'm not involved with fans at this particular point. I just liked it. You know, and I didn't mind that it was a bit clumsy and a bit greedy and a bit daft, really. It was just another companion in the TARDIS for me. And Andy Four is saying to us, I was gutted when Adric died at the time because I identified with him. He was similar age and a similar look. And I remember actually people of my age at school the next day actually say, they killed off Adric. They killed Adric.
I was probably thinking excellent at the time, probably. Yeah.
I think it's one of those things where, you know, it's a bit like when they put WizKid in Greatest Show in the Galaxy. You know, where fans see somebody, a fan which is the fan, or a fan which is based on a fan. I mean, the same thing happened in Next Generation with Wesley Crusher. There's an instant dislike, and I've never quite understood necessarily why. But there you go.
From my point of view, from the off, you know, going right back to season 18 in 1980, I always thought Adric was a very badly conceived, poorly realized character.
Totally.
Didn't fit the Doctor Who template well at all. And no disrespect to the guy, but at that time, Matthew Waterhouse did not have the acting chops, the experience, or the ability to carry the character. No. So for me, it was a recipe for disaster.
It was one of those classic, and I'm going to say it was one of those classic JNT mistakes. There were lots of them in his run. And one of the mistakes he had, and he learnt very, very quickly, although it took him ages to really sort it out, was you only need one companion. Because he was so obsessed with having the 4, like the original TARDIS crew, and it didn't work by the time they got it. And you're right, George, Adric's character was never fleshed out properly after his first story, and that happened to an awful lot of companions, I think, because there was it happened to Sarah's Nyssa. Nyssa is the second female scientist in Doctor Who, and that never comes across after her first story. They never do it justice properly. Well, Terminus, when she leaves to be a scientist, for heaven's sake. That was the problem with how it was produced back in the day, and it's just one of those things we've got to live with, really. And we overlook it as the stories are rewatched, just like we overlook it at the time. It's only because we're older now we can go, oh, they missed that bit, they missed that bit. But there were other pressures at the time for them, wasn't there?
Yeah. I think Adric in episode 1 of this as well is just horrible, and he's having that whole tantrum about not having time for him and stuff.
And
I do actually make notes, believe it or not. And the one that I made for episode 1 is F off Adric. it is one note for episode 1.
Are you talking about Adric in his IKEA bedroom?
It's beautiful.
And his pajamas. So
it doesn't look very TARDIS-y at all, does it?
With all
Avon Zero One is saying to us, I like the soldiers all wearing yellow Scott goggles. Well, I'm glad you like that. Stephen O'Neill as well saying Janet Fielding let out an unscripted scream during the scene in part 4 when the dying cyber leader shoots the TARDIS console as a stray spark has landed in her hair. Yeah, she loves telling that story to today. She loves it. She's been telling it for years. She absolutely loves that one.
Good job she didn't have Jenny Linden levels of hair lacquer on.
She'd be up the Christmas tree.
Synth John, Eric Saywood knew how to write stories with incredible somber atmosphere and a grim intensity. Ooh, very nice. It's true though.
I think the fact that Adric dies in this is actually very, very powerful. I mean, he's okay. He's not the most loved character. And looking back, you can see, I mean, certainly, I feel I take your point entirely. He's acting like a petulant child in episode 1. It feels horrible. And he was meant to, I understand he was meant to be sort of like an Artful Dodger type of character. That was the idea behind him.
Which got forgotten. Yeah, which manifested itself in State of Decay, which was the first one he recorded, if I remember rightly.
That's right. Yes.
And that was it. Disappeared.
Irritating boffin.
But the other thing, I mean, it's interesting on the behind the sofa thing now, where that whole argument between the Doctor and Adric at the beginning of part 1, Peter Davison somewhere along the line says he can now relate to that more because he's had 2 sons. He's been in that situation with himself now, where they go off and storm off and smash doors and stuff like that, as all parents do. And he would play it slightly differently. But again, it's one of those things, isn't it, really? We forget Adric is supposed to be, 16? Although Matthew was 18. Adric's supposed to be younger.
15, 16,
Yeah. Again, it didn't stand a chance. It's one of those characters in Doctor Who that shouldn't have been there. He didn't stand a chance.
16's too old for that tantrum. That's
really? Do you think so? I was having tantrums at 16, I tell you.
I think.
Huge Queenie.
You haven't got time for me? No, it'd be, you're all over me. You don't let me do anything.
You're smothering me. Yeah.
I hate you.
That's pure. That again is one of Adric's qualities. He's pure jealous. Don't forget, he's had the Doctor to himself for quite a bit of time, really, between saying goodbye to Romana and K9 at the Gateway to when Tegan arrives in the TARDIS in Logopolis.
And goodbye to the
finished about 17 series in between that time, So.
And he's had 2 Doctors as well.
Yeah.
Well, no, I'm saying when he was with the 4th Doctor, he's had all that period of the time. Then there's a generation. Suddenly there's these 2 women around with them as well. Yeah. And this Doctor's different, and he's not giving him necessarily the same one-to-one quality that the 4th may have done. So he's a bit. He's very narcissistic in a way, really, isn't he? And it's never brought out until this episode. Quite rightly, because Eric realizes this is Matthew's swan song. I've got to give him more to do. So as George was saying there, he's the second lead character in this, quite rightly, because it's his last one. Adric's mathematical skills come to the fore again.
Do you remember the bonus feature that was on the DVD? I don't know if it went onto the Blu-ray.
Episode 5?
The animation of Adric. And Adric goes, "I've survived," and then the T-Rex eats him.
Yeah, eats him.
The asteroid blows up Earth. The end.
Yeah, very funny. Yeah. Thanks everybody for all your comments in the chat. It's really, really good to see you all. Avon saying to us, I didn't like the silent tribute ending. Funky saying the proper sting and titles in the Meglos theme would have been better. Hidden History and the Holy, though, is saying the silent ending worked very well, in my opinion. Zach, don't remind us, but he's saying to us, Matthew made a brief return in Time Flight. Don't remind us about Time Flight. We've done that one. We don't need to do it again if we don't want to. Pete Harrington is saying Happiness by Ken Dodd would have been better closing music for part 4.
Probably the royalties would probably have been cost prohibitive.
Probably, yeah. Can you imagine the cost now, George, with all the music now? Goodness me. And Real Geriatric. I can't remember where I saw it, maybe the collection series extras, but the ending is discussed. And to be honest, I think they got it right. It was a very serious thing to have a companion die. It certainly was. I mean, these days they do it willy-nilly, or in the version that's just ended, they did it willy-nilly, but then they bring them back.
Yeah, they kill them for 5 minutes. Yeah.
I mean, this is the thing. God, could you imagine if this was Stephen Moffat? How many times did Rory get brought back to bloody life?
3 or 4?
3 times.
3 or 4, yeah.
It's sort of like so. In this, the fact that Adric dies and stays dead is, I think, actually a healthy thing, because it shows the audience at home that what the Doctor is doing is actually dangerous. His world, and when I said he's bloodied for the first time in the story, I think it is the fact that there is a loss of life. There is a loss for the main hero. You know, he goes.
The consequences,
there's something cathartic in it,
but also your main cast are now in jeopardy all the time. It's not.
That's why
Tegan's not guaranteed to survive.
Yeah,
because Adric died.
That's why they did it, though. Eric Sayward, he had to make the 5th Doctor more fallible than the previous incarnations, because that's the way they wanted to go. How do we do that? Or we do it this way, do it this way. Oh, hang on a minute. Let's bump off one of his companions to show the Doctor doesn't always win.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it dramatically. I get it from a creative point of view. How exciting is that? It's interesting now that Peter Davison says now he wouldn't have gone down that route now, because obviously he's now a father. He's gone down that parental route. He went through it with his kids when apparently Rose was about to die in another cyber story in the future. You know, we know that story. We'll come to that when we look at that episode as well, I'm sure. So he just says now, maybe it's not the way. Maybe they shouldn't have done it that way. Interesting.
2 points. You know, back in the day when Liz left the series, the original intention was to kill Sarah Jane Smith off.
Yes.
And Liz fought tooth and nail not to kill the character off, because she felt it would have traumatized children far too much. And she won the argument, obviously. But I think Katrina being killed off in Katerina being killed off in Dalek's master plan has way more impact than this does. And Katerina was only in it for 3 and a bit episodes, but the way that that's handled and the reaction you get out of the rest of the cast from that one, I think, is way more of a gut punch than this is. As I said, I just thought the end credits was, for me, was just a complete eye roll moment.
Derek Carter saying, I was shocked as a kid seeing a companion dying in Doctor Who. Yeah, we all were. We hadn't been brought up with this. Usually the companions would fall in love, Leela, or get trapped in another universe, or just want to get back on with their life. This was a culture shock for a load of us, this particular end of the episode. I think as the age I am now, it fits the story, because the story is dangerous. And it should be pushing home the fact that the Cybermen can be very dangerous. From that point of view, when it came to being a fan, I think that's why I was always a little bit sort of, with the subsequent cyber stories, I was a bit let down to an extent with everything, because they are, for me, in this one, they are dangerous. And they can put people into situations that you're not necessarily going to get out of. Doesn't necessarily happen for me from this moment onwards.
No, it's the strongest. I think it's the strongest Cyberman story of the 80s. We see.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's the problem. Attack of the Cybermen has got great elements into it, but possibly it's not focused and it's a bit too continuity heavy, and it doesn't fit. There's actually a lot of visceral body horror, so we actually see a lot of bodily conversion stuff, which visually is great, and it has that sort of dark Holmesian, that dark Saywardian noir, that we've talked about, but it doesn't have the coherence. It's George, your mentioning of the Dalek master plan is interesting because I must admit I thought that story actually was a revelation to me, because the world it built was very dark. The world of the Dalek master plan, how Earth is run in the future, is very, very dark. It's basically it's a police state, and the people in it are very ruthless. And it kind of felt like, in a way, it felt like the sort of story Sayward could have written. In a way, there's strange continuities with maybe Sayward's riffing on Terry Nation, if you like.
I mean, the other thing about Dalek's master plan is we don't know visually how much impact Sarah Kingdom's death had on screen, because unfortunately we can't see it.
No.
But I mean, the other thing is, you've got 2 companion deaths in the one story.
I would expect. Getting back to Earthshock, this was the impact you had there, not just on fans, but also on the public, because it did actually make some of the press, believe it or not. Doctor Who's Boy Meets End and all this sort of stuff. So that was in some of the tabloids I seem to remember. But
was that News of the World, that one, was it? That sounded very
I can't remember, but I do remember the impact the day after at school, where people, we were actually talking about this, going, they killed Adric. Now, normally in Doctor Who it was a case of, that baddie was beaten, all that, but it seemed to me everybody was talking about they killed Adric. Everybody seemed to have seen that one that particular day, or that particular episode. It was quite. I remember that, and it struck me to, obviously, because I'm talking about it now. Everybody seemed to have watched that, and the brilliant thing about it is it's had a legacy all these years. Nobody has forgotten that in Doctor Who circles. Nobody has forgotten that Adric was killed in this particular adventure. We have references to this in the Big Finish story Spare Parts, which we are going to be reviewing on this channel. Stay with us. Make sure you're subscribed. And then apparently there's also a reference to it in a Jodie Whittaker episode where the Doctor appears to Tegan as the 5th Doctor. And so they have that element. And then Russell T Davies has to bring it back for those bloody awful, stupid little episodes in the memory TARDIS, doesn't he?
Tales from the TARDIS, they're terrible.
Yeah, they are awful things. They're not canon. They don't count. But to have that whole thing, I mean, it had an impact on a whole generation of fans, because Chris Chibnall wouldn't let it go. He had to do it. He had to reference it by bringing Janet Fielding back in an adventure with the Cybermen, which you guys told me all about in our introductory story. Or introductory episode to this a couple of years ago. Amazing. There's the impact. It's there. It's there, and they've implied that the character holds that grief. In an alien Time Lord way. It's in there. Interesting that though, isn't it?
Remember Peter Davison's last word as he regenerates is Adric.
Adric.
Apologizing. Obviously.
The guilt. It's the guilt. Had they played with that more, again with hindsight, and played on that whole guilt of the death of this character, that would have made the 5th Doctor a really, really interesting character. Here he is going along in his incarnation with guilt. I know we get it with Christopher Eccleston years later, but that's something slightly different. It would have been interesting though, but that's not how they did it in the day. You moved on, didn't you? You got on with it, and we all forgot about Adric within 25 minutes of time flight. We were all moved on by then, haven't
we? The other thing that doesn't land properly, no pun intended, about Adric's demise is he died a hero's death, but that doesn't really come across.
Do you know, it's because he says, now I'll never know if I was right. And you just think,
great line.
Yeah.
That is a great line. Yeah.
I don't like. I just think it makes him annoying. It makes him smug and all clever, and
I like it. I think it's a great line because it sort of sums up. Well, again, it just sort of summed up his character through that year. Through when he's introduced in full circle to where he finishes off. That's Adric. I'll never know from. He always had to be. That's what gets him into trouble. And you're not going to know if you're right on this one. Well, that's face, isn't it?
And to me, the episode should have ended with the close-up of Matthew Wardhouse holding whatever it was he was holding.
It's the rope, isn't it? It's Varsh's rope.
The belt he has around his waist,
the spaceship going bang, and then it should have gone directly to the end titles. The bit that came after that just dissipated the impact of that. That should have been picked up in the following episode.
Well,
that should have been the shock ending.
Yeah.
I like the scene with the captain with the penny drops, where she says, "I got to take the cargo."
Oh yeah.
And then it realised the Cybermen have been there all along.
Again, it's another bit where a brief glimpse into how bright Adric can be. How many of these silos are you carrying? As he suddenly worked out, hello, we're in trouble here.
Yeah, that's another point. I could have got this wrong, but there's an inference that there are 15,000 Cybermen on that freighter because he said there are 15,000 silos.
Yeah.
Yet the cyber leader, when they evacuate the freighter, say, right, get all the activated Cybermen out off the ship. He's quite happy to leave, the other 14,970 to go flambe.
Yes. Yeah.
The bizarre thing about that is, why does it happen though when they all leave the ship and all of a sudden they'll come back to life? That seems a bit out of left field a bit, doesn't it? That for some reason the ship lurches and the control comes down and they all start waking up.
I have a theory about that one. The Colin Baker story. Some of the Cybermen survive on Earth and stay dormant?
No, they can't survive because they're all on the freighter and it smashes into the planet Earth. It just goes bang. and also,
as George said, they were flambe. That was it.
Yeah. And also because it's 65 million years in the past. That doesn't hold up, Lex.
It was just the casual way the cyber leader went, "Sorry guys, you're toast."
Yeah. But again,
never liked those Cybermen very much.
Logically, it makes sense, doesn't it?
It makes no emotion. The plan has had to change. The cyber leader has had to change the plan very quickly because the bomb has gone. And then the whole thing, they've had to change their freighter into a flying bomb, which the Doctor gets right. He cottons onto that very quickly. I like that moment. So, the plan has had to change. He's quite happy to sacrifice dormant Cybermen.
There's a lot of Cybermen. George is right. Cybermen.
Yeah, but he's quite happy to do it. They'll get more.
Yeah. Well, it seems they're abundant at this point in time, doesn't it? Because I like Cybermen stories when there's not many of them and they're desperate. I usually think they're better. But in Earthshock, actually, there's 15,000 on that ship, and it's implied there's an entire army somewhere that's going to go to war with these delegates who are currently on Earth. So, it just seems that we're in a cyber-abundant time.
Mm-hmm. It may be there's very few of them active, or there's a relatively small number active, and you may have more dormant Cybermen sort of out there, but also it could be that these are almost spare parts. These might be, in Revenge, there's this idea that they have these ships that are full of spare parts, and you might rock up to a place and you would use the spare parts to convert the humans or the humanoids there.
Well, don't forget, we're only assuming we've got the number right. It's never confirmed. I mean, there might have been that many silos. They might not have all have been carrying Cybermen. But the Doctor does say they're an invasion force. Earth is where they want to go.
So someone might be carrying Weetabix or something like that instead.
I just love the fact that eventually the Cybermen do get to Earth. They're just a little bit crumpled. Gavin Graham is saying the reaction to the end of part 1 was as big as in my year's area of the playground. Boys only, of course, but the cyber reveal was a massive talking point. Yeah, this whole story had a big impact, I think, on those of us that were of that particular age. I do like, because obviously we are talking about the Cybermen in their 60th anniversary year. I do like the way this relaunched the Cybermen, because now they were back fully popular again, and we didn't get rid of them really. Now, I mean, not as bad as the new version that's just ended, but this was the first of what was to become semi-regular appearances. I quite like that as well. I appreciate the fact that here they were, the Cybermen had made such an impression. Yeah, I mean, hurrah for that. Thank goodness they went for a cyber story. Nathan Turner said, yes, you can bring the Cybermen back. Let's go for it. Of course, it's famous that, as we've mentioned before, they did not get that famous cover. Now, Eric Saywood says he doesn't have any recollection of the Radio Times coming to John saying we'd like to do a Cyberman story, episode 1 cover. Eric Saywood doesn't remember that at all. So that's quite interesting, isn't it? Maybe that was a little bit.
But it must be true, though, because wasn't there loads of stuff about they had the gallery at Television Centre closed off to fandom and stuff like that to try to get a massive secret. So it doesn't make sense
Could be,
the case, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So,
could be,
Yeah. I mean, yeah, absolutely. I mean, we all know the story. Everyone was sworn to secrecy, and in those days, you didn't need contracts to do it. Everybody honoured it and said, "Yeah, okay, no problem. That's going to be dramatically good for the audience. Fantastic. It worked big time, as we all know." So it is interesting, that particular story. However, Radio Times did cover it. I've got here, these are the first entries there. You can see part 1 there. That's all it says. What do the silhouettes guard? And then the day for part 2, that's when it's all revealed in part 2. The week, interesting, isn't it? Because, it was on twice a week.
does it have just leader and lieutenant or lieutenant in the?
It says
in the
cyber
credit?
lieutenant and cyber leader. Yeah.
All right, in the second part, yeah.
I don't remember anybody that clicked onto that back in 1982. I don't think any of us turned over the page, quite frankly. I think if you were getting the Radio Times. It did cover it, though, on the back pages. Yes, the infamous Radio Times John Craven's back page the week after with that beautiful illustration. The Cybermen are back. Does anybody remember this?
I do. Is that Andrew Skilleter's work, is it? It's really nice.
I can't remember who did the illustration, but there's a close-up for you there. This is from Radio Times between the 13th and the 19th of March, 1982. And the article said the Cybermen are back. It is quite a week for monsters. Just a few days after the dreaded Cybermen return to threaten Doctor Who, lots more of his weird foes from space will be storming the screens again. From the deepest, darkest reaches of the universe, creatures like the Crinoids, the Sontarans, the Mandrels, the Sea Devils, and of course the Daleks are making a comeback. Not as part of the latest Doctor Who feature on BBC One, Monday, 6:55, Tuesday, 7:05 in Wales, Monday and Wednesday, 7:45, quite late actually when you think about it, but as guests of reporter Gavin Scott on Did You See, Saturday, 6:45, BBC Two. Oh, I remember watching that one as well. But look at those times there, guys. Monday, BBC One, 6:55. Monday and Wednesday, 7:45. Very interesting times. But that's how it was in those days. In the week. And did well for them. I mean, as we say, season 19 was getting cracking views.
It was a good program. Like a good program. People tune in.
Yeah. Any of you remember this?
Oh, yes.
Look at the way they spelled Davidson there. Typically getting it wrong. Yeah. But yeah, Earthshock Part 1 was selected, of course, as part of this range. There were several of them that came out with the Sun newspaper here in the UK.
One of them was a Day of Armageddon, wasn't it? I mean, that came out. That was really rare that it came out free in the Sun.
That's right.
They had a Lost in Time one as well, didn't they?
Yeah, they did a Lost in Time one as well. But these were all designed to promote Doctor Who, of course. Yeah. And it was always interesting to me that they went for Earthshock episode 1 to promote Peter's time as the Doctor. I mean, it shows you it's either going to be the Caves of Androzani or Earthshock that they're always going to go back to when it comes to this, I think. I'm not including the 5 Doctors in this, of course, but it's always going to be those two. Great show, I think, everybody. Anybody got any points that they want to put across now that they're burning to...
I think the scientist character, when they first, you see her, Scott doesn't
Professor Kyle.
And you feel sorry for her at the end, and Scott feels bad at the end that she dies at the end.
I watched part 4 with my wife, and she thought she was terrible. I'm just saying that now.
I love the Doctor's meeting of the first time, and sort of like Scott's obviously trying to stamp his authority on the situation. He's throwing the Doctor around, and the Doctor's first instinct is to shake hands with Professor Kyle, and Kyle shoots out her hand. So they're like, we're kind of scientists. It's okay. There's this military guy shouting in the background, but we're going to ignore him. I think I thought she's a very sympathetic character.
It's another character though that's sort of lost in the story, isn't she? Because she ends up in the console room with Nyssa.
Yeah.
She should have stayed on Earth, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those things, isn't it? And you just think, oh God, you know. But never mind. Never mind. It's again hindsight.
Yeah, it was very handy that she and Tegan were exactly the same size, so her overalls fitted Tegan perfectly.
It was, wasn't it? Yeah.
It was handy.
Yeah. And now because I've seen the story so many times, I actually look at these things thinking, nah.
It'd be much funnier if she was a bigger lady and Tegan's costume was hanging off her. That'd be very funny, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but Tegan's is snug, isn't it? It's as though it's been made to fit Janet Fielding.
Yeah.
Jason Parker saying to us, this story was JNT making his mark. I always reminded his critics how JNT brought such freshness into the series. The designs were excellent. But Chris Kaz is actually saying to us, was anyone else not bothered when Professor Kyle bought it?
No. Not really.
I did like the fact the Cybermen were trying to break into the TARDIS with the doors closed.
Oh, that was good.
Yeah.
That's
and the noise of it.
Yeah.
You know how you get the TARDIS door noise? It's like,
Yeah.
I like that.
And I love the Cybermen's death when they die and they get that wonderful groan that they give. I like all that.
Oh, that's horrible, that, isn't it? That electronic.
The
Cyberman who.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on, Digby.
No. I was thinking the Cyberman who died. Speaking of Cyberman death noises, the one who's on the bridge and who does for Adric's attempts to try and stop the freighter crashing into Earth. Yeah, it sounds almost like he's laughing.
Do you think? I just think it's like, I think it's horrible.
No, there's almost like a weird sort of demented laugh in my head.
I've not picked up on that.
I like the one that's injured as well. We talked about him earlier on when he comes in and he's kind of the cyber fluids dripping from him and he collapses. That's a lovely moment. It drags itself in to try and maybe tell them what was happening, but then dies. It's really nice. Yeah.
A lot of you were saying about this in the chat. We did mention it earlier on, but I do want to give a shout out to Malcolm Clark for that now legendary score. It helps to make Earthshock such a fantastic 4 episodes in my eyes. And the March of the Cybermen is infamous now for Doctor Who fans. It's what says the Cybermen. I mean, a lot of you were saying there, Stephen and everybody was saying in the chat, that when Doctor Who, the music arrived with March of the Cybermen on it, that was the score, that was the sounds, that was the track we all went to listen over and over again. I am part of that as well.
Yeah, me too.
I absolutely loved it. So atmospheric. The BBC Radiophonic Workshop at its best as well, with all that echoey clanging and all that in there. Absolutely
works today. It
really does, and it shows you how clever these guys were because they were using household objects all around them or stuff in a car.
Was it like a
piano? Amazing stuff.
Was like a stool leg or something, and you'd bang the stool leg to get a sound of it, like a clanking sound.
Just genius, isn't it?
Yeah.
But back in the video days, so when I was a teenager, I didn't really have any friends that watched Doctor Who or really knew what Doctor Who was or anything. But every now and then you'd get one who was curious and they'd say, "Oh, can I borrow a video?" And I'd be worried about lending them anything that looked too crap because I wouldn't want them to come back and say, that's the man wrapped in bubble wrap kind of doing a caterpillar dance on the floor. And so Earthshock tended to be the one that I would lend to people as not embarrassing. I think it looks good.
Yeah.
I think it still does. I think if anybody ever did ask me to borrow a DVD, I think Earthshock would be one of the ones I'd kind of proffer to.
Yeah, especially now as it's got the familiar features of the Cybermen in.
Yeah.
You know.
What was nice about this as well was we were lucky enough to get Doctor and the Monsters the year after with Curse Genesis and Earthshock again in the 2-part version, which was lovely. And that was the first program I recorded was Doctor and the Monsters. It was my first recording of Doctor Who, which was great. Really enjoyed that.
Yeah. Okay, it's that point now, everybody, where I'm going to ask you for your scores on the TARDIS doors. If you're in the chat, you can start putting your marks out of 10 for Earthshock into the chat. I'm going to run the VT and let the guys have a little bit of a think. Here we go.
Scores on the TARDIS doors. If you like this story, did you think it bores? Give your scores on the TARDIS doors.
as I said a couple of times, this has been the most requested Cyberman story we have had, or any story actually, here on Who's Views since we set up 3 years ago. So thank you so much. I hope we've done it justice. I hope it was worth the wait. And yeah, it was appropriate that we did it now as part of our celebrations of the Cybermen as 60 years old. I'm going to start with George. What's your scores on the TARDIS doors for Earthshock?
Oh dear, you're starting with me.
Yeah, we'll start with you.
I'm sure I said before, to me, the key ingredient with Doctor Who that you just can't get wrong, because if you do, everything else just doesn't work or doesn't work as it should, is the casting of the Doctor. And I want to stress that this is in no way any sort of personal attack on Peter Davison. I think Peter Davison is an incredibly talented and skilled actor. I've enjoyed his performances in numerous things he's done.
Peter Davison for showrunner.
But having said that, at that time, I just do not think he was right as the Doctor. He just did not gel with me at all. And because of that, and that's the reason why the rift appeared between me and Doctor Who, and we got further and further apart, because the key ingredient, that central magic, just wasn't there anymore. And because of that, I can't like the story as much as I'm sure everybody else does. And I realise I'm in a minority of one here. I completely agree. There are some very strong visuals in it. There are some very strong elements in it. It is a good, strong, well thought out script that has, a logical progression to it. Everything else has a payoff. I don't agree with some of the artistic decisions made. I refer you to my comments about the end credits of episode 4 as an example. So it just doesn't hang together the way it would if it was with any of his 4 predecessors, who would have given it that lift and, for me, brought it to life. But I do recognise there are some very strong elements in there, but it's just because the Doctor's not there for me, it's just not Doctor Who that I know and love. But to acknowledge the strong points that are there for me, it's a 5 out of 10.
5 out of 10 from George. And let's just point out, George never saw Jodie Whittaker or Ncuti Gatwa.
GT, before we go on to the next mark, can I ask George, when did you actually kind of stop watching Doctor Who, or did you just watch it sporadically after this?
I desperately wanted to like it after Tom left. I genuinely did. And I watched all of Peter Davison's first year. But when we got to, as we watched quite recently, the Time Flight one, which I think was the last one of his first season, if I remember right.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I just thought, no, I'm out of here. I'm done with this.
So you've not seen it from then on, effectively, then?
I dipped in and out of it and saw odd episodes. But my thought process was, I'm actively starting to dislike this, and I don't want to dislike something I've had nothing but love for previously.
Yeah,
and that's why I made the conscious decision to move away from it.
Just like I did years later when Peter Capaldi left. Funky, thank you for your super chat. I always lended the crap ones out first, Bill, because I was worried about how the not we would diss the amazing stories. There you go.
I think I was still desperately trying to cling on to the idea that I could be cool. So if I lent one out that looked good, maybe my interests wouldn't look quite so tragic. But
how wrong you were. Anyway, we're gonna move on now to Dippy. What are you going to give Earthshock for your scores on the TARDIS doors?
I'm going to give it a 9.5. I'm going to give it a 9.5. For me, it's there are obviously watching it. There are shortcomings with it. Yes, the silent credits I thought was a later addition. It turns out no, that was how it was broadcast. I just seemed to have botted it out at the time. But no, for me there's so much strong about it. It's where I think Peter Davison comes into his own as the Doctor. It's actually, for me, it's actually quite a strong ensemble cast. The Cybermen, yes, they're not, there's things about the Cybermen that are both brilliant in this, in terms, I think, of their look, how they're shot, the special effects and so forth. They're given a sense of being a really relentless force in the universe, but at the same time, there's some stuff that's just doesn't make sense. So whether it's the two Cybermen sharing a joke, or the the beautifully Shakespearean cyber leader, who's probably there for morale purposes and to give them a a stiff back, and sort of like the cyber controller's obviously seen Henry V and wanted to channel that into his troops. But yeah, I mean, for me, it's a story I've got incredibly strong affection for. I think for me, it's the best Cyberman story of the 80s. It's weirdly, it's a story that's potentially, in some ways, it's a high watermark, but also it nudges the story perhaps in a direction that was to not play the series, or not pay the series so well back in the future, in that it became, yes, it's anchoring Peter into the story's mythology, but I think it's also maybe it leads us in slightly less reflective or slightly more simplistic terms into reading the show's history. And I think there's a danger there. That's why I think I'm giving it a 9.5. There's that
9.5 from Digby. Okay. Sorry. All right, Lex, what about you?
Okay, sci-fi thriller, action, very Aliens and James Cameron's vibes. 9 out of 10.
Lovely. 9 out of 10 from Lex. Phil?
I'm kind of the opposite of George, I think, because in my youth, my mum would borrow videos from Blockbuster for me of Doctor Who, and it would be Pertwee's and Tom Baker's. And yeah, so Peter Davison's Doctor is the kind of Doctor I discovered myself, really, because I bought the videos. And I love 80s Doctor Who. And he is the Doctor for me because he's regenerated, and he's not a dandy, he's not a clown. He's a much more kind of empathetic, but I still think he's an old young man. And yeah, I love 80s Doctor Who, obviously. And this isn't getting me to my number, but my number is obviously going to be a 10. It's no time lash, so technically it's probably a 9.9 recurring. But I could happily watch Earthshock all day. I mean, there's bits that are annoying. Adric's a little bit annoying in it, but it doesn't destroy it for me or anything like that. There's nothing in it that makes me just dislike the story. I like it. It chugs along. It's an adventure. It's got the Cybermen in it. The Cybermen look great. Yeah, it's a 10.
A 10 from Phil. Thank you. And Paul?
Well, I'll just say, Phil, you're right. It's no time lash. That's without a doubt. But anyway, but I agree partly what George said. That I think Peter Davison is a good actor. He won't talk 1 to 4 for me because they're all fabulous and they're the best Doctors for me. But for me, Davison is really good in this, and I enjoy his performance in this. I think he's much stronger here than he has been so far in this season, and he's really got an energy in this which I really like. I remember watching this originally and being so excited with the Cybermen being in this. It was wonderful. The cliffhanger we mentioned already, the look of them, the way it was shot. I wish more Doctor Who at this time was more action adventure like this, because it's really well directed. I love more of this. And Peter Greenaway, for me, I think is a really good director. He did Logopolis, he did Full Circle, he did Kinder as well. Even like Studio Bound, there's some good stuff in there, good performances. It works quite well. But I think it's a really good story, and I'm with Phil. It's 10 out of 10 for me, regardless of the faults.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, gentlemen. For myself, I loved it in 1982. I love it again now. I can forgive all the faults that I do see now as my older self. It's getting a 10 from me. Earthshock has always got a 10 from me, and I think it's always going to get a 10 from me. Let's get into the chat and have a look here. Avon01 is giving it 7 out of 10. Real Geriatric is giving it an 8. An excellent perfection, says Derek Hart, with 100. Story is excellent. 10 out of 10 from Synth John. And the Jason Parker's coming in with 7. It's a good effort. Thank you for that, Jason.
Imagine the Cybermen just saying that, good effort. Like that.
Good
like your science teacher. Yes.
Hidden History in the Holy is saying, oh, this one is easy. It's a 10 out of 10. Thank you very much, mate. Thank you very much. We've got Andy 4 coming in with a 9. Dalek Shalom is giving it a 7.5 out of 10. And Chris Kaz, 10 out of 10. For the shot reveals and ending, watching back in 1982, how many times would RTD have brought Adric back? Between him and Moffat, yeah, they would have brought him back about several million times. Every single week it would have been. We've got Doctor Who 1963 here with 9 out of 10. PTA, Paul Ashworth, 10 out of 10, 1,000 out of 10 for bumping off Adric. What a bitch. That's terrible, PTA. You're very naughty. And Hidden History. We got you. It was a 10 out of 10 from Hidden History and the Holy. Thank you, Mark. Saying here at Kundry, 8 out of 10 for Earthshock. The Death of Adric, priceless. You cruel lot. Terrible. Pete Harrington, it's definitely a 9. I could easily sit and watch this time and time again. John the Computer Doctor, 9 out of 10, and I liked Adric. What else we got here? We've got Funky saying, despite any inconsistencies in story, etc., it's a 10 out of 10, or should I say excellent? And also a 10 out of 10 from Steve Braddock. I love Earthshock. The music, the eerie atmosphere, the slow build-up, the reveal, the Cybermen, and Davison is great as the Doctor. It's a complete classic to me, and it always will be. So similar to myself there. Thank you for that, Steve. We've got Stephen O'Neill saying 8 out of 10. The deliberately unannounced appearance of the Cybermen is widely considered one of the greatest shock twists in the show's history, but Beryl Reid is still the weakest link. Miles Day is saying to us here, nothing less than 10 out of 10. It's one I always used to lend to friends in school as well because it looked good and it still holds up today. Yeah, totally. Thanks, Miles. Matt and Spiel, very easy. Earthshock gets a 10 for me. I have such a love for this story. And Paul Richards is saying 7 out of 10. I wish the Cybermen voices were more electronic sounding. Be interesting to see what any new version of Doctor Who does with the Cybermen, because the Cybermen and the Daleks are bound to be coming back if they can get the negotiations of the rights. So it'd be interesting to see what they do with them then in the early 2030s. The Jason Parker, Peter is an incredible as an actor. He was not the Doctor for me. I totally agree with George. I always felt he was a companion. I adore him as an actor, but I can't stand his daughter and son-in-law, though. Yuck. Thanks for that. Have you got a score for us, Jason? or do we have that? I can't remember.
He'd already done it.
Bill Lowry,
yeah.
Decent story, some weak acting, 7 out of 10. Yeah, Paul Richards saying, I thought Davison was much stronger after his first series. There is that. You have to see series 2 for Peter, and by 3, he's got it. And then he decides to go. Yeah, because he was unsure in series 19 of himself. You know, John had to really, allegedly, you are the Doctor. The Doctor can do this. Dalek Shalom is saying, I agree with George. Davison hadn't got into a stride yet, but he really owned the role in later series, though. Darren Reed, my first season, My Doctor. It was a classic before I got to see any of the other classics. Shows that traveling with the Doctor is as dangerous as it is exciting. No more to say 10. Sean Cryer, it would be a 9 from me. Thank you, Sean. Since John is saying, I get where George is coming from because Tom was so iconic. I struggled after Tom a bit, but I love Peter in this, which sold me. Thank you very much. Thank you for that. Let's have a look, see if we've got any more scores here. Let's have a look. Funky is saying Earthshock allowed Davison to announce his presence.
Yeah.
That's quite a good line, that one, actually. There. Any more scores, anybody? Get your scores in now. Otherwise, I'm going to call it a day. I can't see any more. I think that's it. Yeah, I think that's it. I'll call it a day there then if we haven't got any more scores. Put them in now or forever, not have them read out. There we go. Right, so yeah, I think that's it. Still quite good scores there, everybody, though. Very high scores. Not as high as I expected them to be, I think, from lots of people that were, getting to us saying, come on, when you do an Earthshock.
I think George has poisoned people against it.
He has, yeah.
And my work is done.
He's a bad influence, that's all I'm saying, yeah.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what he thinks of other things coming along now, because I'm going to force him to watch what we've got coming up for you next. Because, yes, we're broadcasting to you on the 15th of July, 2026, which means we've still got several episodes to go when it comes to reviewing the Cybermen as part of the 60th anniversary of the Cybermen this year. I want to say thanks to George, thanks to Paul, thanks to Phil, thanks to Legs, and thanks to Cybermen 1 Adric 0. Thanks, Chris. Thank you.
I don't know how to use StreamYard.
Great show tonight. Thank you very much for that, everybody. If you're new to us, please subscribe to the channel. If you're not new to us, please make sure you have still subscribed to the channel. Please give us a thumbs up. Please hype us if you like. Everything helps the channel here, and you can leave some comments for us as well. thank you so much for everybody that's joined us in the live chat. It's great to see you all. Stay with us because we've got more coming up for you. And I'll let you know at the end of the month which cyber story we'll be looking at in August. Lots to come for you. Lots to come for you right up until December. From the guys, from myself, thanks for joining us. We'll see you again very soon. Look after yourselves, everybody. Ta-ra.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.